G'day mates, and welcome to my new project, the Arma Off podcast, where we take off our armour and sit down with veterans with real world experience from real world militaries from around the world, and they all now play games like Arma and ARMAREFORGER, an FPS milsim video game. We ask them what it's like to serve and what they get out of playing games like Arma now. Nothing is off the table, and some of these conversations are quite raw and can be disturbing for some people. So viewer discretion is advised, and this might not be for everybody. Today we've got our first guest, Titan, joining us to spin some yarns about his time in the Corps. Titan served with the 3rd Battalion 10th Marines in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, where he got his start as a 0A11 Cannoneer. He also threw some shells as an artillery instructor in Quantico, Virginia, and crushed it as a recruiter at recruiting station Fort Worth, Texas. He further served with the 2nd Battalion 11th Marines at Camp Pendleton, California, and wrapped up his time with the Marine Artillery Detachment in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Titan rose to the rank of Staff Sergeant E6 and now 3 deployments in his 17 years of service. Kicking back now, playing ARMAREFORGER with RCT5, Titan's here to give us the lowdown on his time in the Corps and what it's like to be a gunner. This is my first time doing something like this, so bear with me. There's a couple of little audio hiccups along the way. We're just trying to figure out how to get the format right, so bear with me while we get those sorted out. But you'll hear my Discord beep a couple of times, but I turn it off right after that. So apart from that, I hope you guys really enjoy. Peace.
Alright, so to set the mood for like how you became Titan, I kind of want to go back to where it all began. Like what was Titan the kid like?
Okay, so Titan, growing up, so let me start with this. I come from a very military family, and so my entire immediate family have served in the military, and where I was born out in California, so my dad was stationed out there. He got out of the Air Force when I was born. My mom was active in the Air Force, and then back then they offered, I guess they offered the ladies either you can discharge or you can stay in or whatever. So she discharged to take care of me. So starting out, basically, I was a kid in California growing up out in the middle of the desert. We were real deep out in the desert with some family and stuff like that. So from there, my dad decided he was going to go back into the service. And after he went back in, and when we were in California, we started moving around like every 4 years for my entire life. But me, my mom, my brother, my dad, we were basically just moving every 4 years that he was in. He retired out of there many years ago now, but basically. I can go through like everywhere we went as a child, and it was kind of rough as a child doing that because you weren't settled anywhere. So it was just like me and my brother. We were the only 2 people that we had the entire time. Our friends were just temporary, basically. So
before your dad went back in to the military for the second time, were you guys like real comfortable where you were? And like, sort of, as kids, like in the desert running around, barefoot running amok as kids, before Dad went back and you started having trouble, did you have to like say goodbye to friends and stuff, or?
I mean, we did. It was, we were very young. Like my brother was just a baby. I was very young. So we didn't really grow up out there. That's just where we were living at the time when I was born. My brother was born. So we left there like around shoot, probably like 1980.
Okay.
And that was right around when my brother was born. And he went back in the Air Force. So from there we went to Nebraska, and he was a crew chief, so he worked on different kinds of aircraft. So here's a little example. So when my mom and dad met when they were in the Air Force together, both of them were mechanics on B-52 bombers during the end of the Vietnam War. So that's what they were doing. And then when he got out, he came back in, and the funny thing is like he was colorblind, so you're disqualified from being a aircraft mechanic. Being colorblind. It was. That's what I asked him, and here's what he told me. He said when he joined, the Vietnam War was going on, so they were just trying to get people in. So they put him as a mechanic, even though he was colorblind. So when he got out and then went back in, they're like, "You can't do this. You're colorblind. You can't be a mechanic." And like, "Well, I was a mechanic before."
Oh wow, that's hilarious.
And they're like, "Well, okay, you're a mechanic again." So he spent like 22 years as a mechanic that can't see red. You know.
That's hilarious.
Like, dude, how did you deal with like wires and
anyway.
shit? Yeah, his
That's
version of
funny.
red, which.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So, moving around a lot every 4 years, what was school like?
I mean, school was like, honestly, man, I don't really remember. It's hard to remember that much from that long ago. I've had a lot of crap happen over the years that my memory kind of sucks, but I do remember bits and pieces of each place. Like when we were in Nebraska, I was in like kindergarten, and I remember doing stupid stuff like running around and not coming home as a kid, and like my parents be looking for me running around. I'm hiding in drains and just being retarded, you know. And it's like it's like little blurry pieces of it. But like once we went to when we left Nebraska, we moved to Alaska for 4 years. So I remember more of that.
Just before you go, when you remember those memories of school, what was the feeling that you had of those? Were they good memory feelings, or like just sort of null feeling memories from school?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have nothing I can remember
nothing
of being
really
bad.
that strikes. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I mean, it was always it was like child memories, you know. It was just us having fun and doing stuff.
And that's early, like primary school, middle school. What about high school and that?
I mean, high school I was in. We can get to that in a little bit if you want, but that was a little bit different.
So you said you went to
we were
Alaska.
settled by then.
You said you moved to Alaska and then.
Yeah, Alaska was like. It was like first grade through like fourth grade.
Oh, so you got used
like
to
elementary
moving
school.
really early.
Oh yeah, like
okay.
right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, right away we were moving. And then so Alaska was I was in elementary school, so up there it was we were right in the middle of Alaska at an Air Force base up there, and it was during the Cold War, so it was like it's hard to explain, but there was like the base we were on, there was all kinds of crazy jets and stuff on there that they would shut the whole base down when one of these things these airplanes were taking off.
Okay.
Because it was going to spy on Russia.
Oh, so they didn't want to see what it was the payload.
They didn't want
anything. Yeah.
I mean, they would lock that base down anytime they were leaving and coming back. It was weird. At the time, I didn't know any better, but now I'm an adult. Thinking back, I was like, "Damn, that's kind of strange."
Did you ever see anything weird? Going from the leaving, coming and going and military?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw the plane that it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a secret anymore, but
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. At the time, it was a big time spy plane. They actually still use it but you can track them on like flight radar.
Which one
like
was
now
it?
you can see them.
Just so everyone else knows.
It was called the Cobra Ball.
Okay.
It's like a big airplane that's all modded out with spy stuff.
Okay. I'll bring up a picture for myself. The Cobra Ball.
Yeah. Cobra Ball aircraft.
Okay, so it looks somewhat like a passenger plane that's obviously kitted out with a whole bunch of tech for spying.
Yeah, it's a RC-135S Cobra Ball reconnaissance aircraft. They still use it today.
They still use it, yeah. Okay.
They do, but it's not as secretive because literally you can track them on those apps.
On those new apps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's above me? I think some of those apps are called. You can track all the planes and stuff that are above you.
Yeah, I have.
Similar ones like that.
What's the one I use? I use Flight Radar.
Yeah.
Flight Radar 24 is a really good one.
All right, so you moved to Alaska and you're in a pretty you're living out of a big base. So when did high school? Were you still there when you hit high school? And
no, so we left there when I was in 4th grade, going into 5th grade, I think.
Okay.
And we moved to, this was our last place we moved was Maryland. Hold on one second. Cat out of here. All right. Yeah, so we moved to Maryland was basically his last duty station, and that's where I spent middle school and high school in that area.
Yeah.
We moved around in Maryland 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
3 different houses, so this might sound kind of bad. I don't know. You could be the judge of it, but
Like I said, nothing's off the table, man, and it doesn't matter. Like, it's not for me to judge.
Okay.
For the viewers, the listeners, it's up to them.
Yeah.
Everybody's
well,
judgment is independent anyway, so I don't care.
We'll see if you want to put this in there. But anyways, so we're living on base, right? I'm in 5th grade, starting 5th grade, and they came out with this thing. So they were busing us out from the base into the inner city of Washington, D.C. to integrate white kids into the black schools, which is wild.
Which I'm not surprised. They were doing similar things like that here in Australia. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so
yeah.
So like my class in 5th grade, there was two 5th grade classes. It wasn't a very big school, but I was the only white kid in the class. So believe it or not, we were pretty popular because none of the kids had any white friends ever. So they were like wanting to be friends, and
so you were the token white guys.
Exactly, yeah. We were the token white guys, and they wanted to be our friends and shit like that. It was just weird.
Were they all nice? Like everyone was nice. They all chill with you. There was no. Type shit or anything like no one giving you shit or anything like that.
There wasn't really. I don't remember any of that. I do remember there was this one kid who.
So what years like is this? When was this? So this is early 90s or?
This was now let me see. I can give you a date. I can't remember exactly. Whenever Hurricane Andrew. 1992.
Okay, so yeah, early 90s, yeah.
Early 90s, yeah. So, early 90s, we were, there was this one kid, he was a gigantic black kid. Like, he was tall, he was huge. I feel like he was, like, had been in that grade for, like, 6 years. Like, just stuck there.
That kid, yeah, just stuck there, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he used to, do stupid shit, and, like, he would kick my legs out from under me. I was just a little skinny white dude, you know, like I was tiny.
Yeah.
I was tall but lanky, you know. It was just weird.
Yeah. Little leverage.
So he was kind of a little bully. And I remember one time we were out on the football field and we were just running around being kids, and this dude came out of nowhere, tackled me, and just started biting me on my hip, like tearing into my hip with his teeth. Like, what the fuck is happening, man? I was screaming. I was punching him in the face, and literally all that happened was went to the into school. I had to show them, like, I had this huge bite bruise mark on my side of my hip, like what the fuck, man? This. They called my parents, and they were all pissed off, and nothing really ever came up. But I remember that memory pretty vividly.
They're just like, oh well, he's a biter. That's what we got out of that.
Pretty much, nothing happened to the kid that I can remember.
It's funny.
Nothing I can.
It was always weird like that. I remember a few incidents when I grew up in school. Stuff like that would happen, and the kid would just end up getting away with it, and then he'd just be labelled, like I said, like, oh, he's a biter. What are we gonna do? There's little Tommy. He's a biter. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure that's all that happened to it.
So there was just that one mega bully. Big
other than that, everybody was really cool. I mean, the area we were in was really bad.
Okay.
I remember people, like, getting shot, like, down the roads.
Oh, shit.
I remember riding on the bus and going, like, down these side streets, and these kids would be just standing on the side of the road throwing giant rocks at the side of the bus, like what the fuck is happening? Yes, it was so crazy.
That's crazy.
I just thought the shit was normal because I didn't know what was,
Yeah.
We've been doing it for 2 years now. It's like,
any long-lasting friends from that school, or?
No, not really. I did have a good friend that was my parents were friends with his parents in the Air Force, but we lost track of each other a long time ago. Now the crazy part of this is, like, we moved after my second year there, I guess, down to the country, like out in the country. So I'm used to being in this inner city DC schools and
put the pen down, Titan.
I don't know, like crazy
put the
shit
down, Titan.
Shit happening all the time. Sorry, it's my knife.
Okay.
Shit happening all the time, it's like. And then we moved down to southern Maryland, which is full of Amish and, like,
oh wow,
farm fields.
That's from one extreme to the next, isn't it?
Yeah. So years later, I had asked my mom. I was like, "Why did we move? Like, what did we move down from up there down to the country?" And she's like, "Well, I was came outside out back in the backyard, and I heard you and your brother talking, and I couldn't tell if y'all were white or black."
Oh, wow.
And she's like, "We're moving." So, I mean, that might sound really bad, but no,
I get that.
I get it because you
hanging around with, the culture you're hanging around with. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, you latch onto it, and we were latching onto it pretty big. So, I mean, that's what we knew.
Mom was like, "It's time to go."
We're moving to the country. So, yeah, we moved to the country.
Yeah.
And then, so high school was kind of I don't even know how I made it through high school, honestly, because I probably shouldn't have. I got into some dumb stuff when I was in there and got in trouble.
Elaborate. What kind of trouble?
Yeah, so I mean, I know. I read your thing about talking about drugs and stuff, but anyways, we were smoking a lot of weed.
Drugs. I just didn't want anyone to get off their head and then get in here and be all spaced out. That's all. You can talk about anything you want, man. Like put it this way, I was a hardcore vandal when I was a kid, smashing up my own area. So like, I was a pretty bad vandal when I was a kid, and I'll admittedly say that and apologise for it. Smashing up my own area is retarded. Now that I think about it, but I was a lost kid. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah. So we did some dumb stuff like that too.
Yeah.
I got in with the wrong crowd. I started smoking a lot of weed, like a lot overabundance of weed and drinking. I would steal my parents' liquor from their cabinet and like replace it with water and shit, like dumb stuff.
Think you're gonna get away with it?
And I would, like, we had a boat. My parents had a boat, and it was like it's like one you had bedroom and a kitchen and it's like a camper.
A houseboat.
Kind of like a houseboat, but Yeah, it was kind of like that. Like, you could live in it,
Yeah.
but they would go down there on the weekends and camp out, like basically stay there the weekends. And I would stay home and have parties at the house
As you do. Most kids would.
and just do stupid shit. And they knew we were doing it. My mom actually brought that shit up the other day. We were talking about it, and she's like, I knew you guys were having parties all the time. I'm like, you never said nothing. Way to go, Mom. You contributed to my delinquency.
She was an enabler.
And so yeah, high school was a very blur. The first 2 years was just kind of normal, and then that's when it got into I discovered marijuana. Yeah, partying, drinking, weed, running around. We did do, like you mentioned, some vandal stuff. Like, me and my buddy went around and stole all the street signs in this one neighborhood. And we ended up in the newspaper.
That's amazing.
With them talking about how dangerous it was, because now the fire department can't find
Signs.
because we didn't have GPSs and we didn't have GPSs like that. There was
where did you put them all?
We put them in the trunk of my buddy's car, and then he rode around with them forever. And when we saw the newspaper article, we ditched them somewhere. I don't remember where we ditched them at, but
Potentially still there.
I guarantee you they're probably still there, just rusting away. I think we just ditched them down a ravine somewhere, but
That's hilarious. The amount of mileage that your friend had to carry around with extra weight, all those signs.
yeah, I mean, we would do that. We would. I don't know if you guys have them in Australia, but they have these little, like, plastic newspaper bins where you can stuff a newspaper in there, and it's basically like goes underneath your mailbox, and then it's like for like the Times or whatever, the Times newspaper, and somebody would put them in there every day. So we would go around and we would light those bitches on fire, and then hide in the woods and watch the fire department come
And giggle.
to put them out. Yeah, we're like up in the tree. We're like climbed in these trees and shit, just being retarded.
Yeah.
Watching the fire department. Yeah.
Kids do stupid shit. We used to do shit the same sort of. We used to we'd ride around because most of us used to race BMX at the local BMX club. So we're always on.
I did that also.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we'd go to the local shopping centre, go to the payphone, call the police, tell them that there's vandals at the shopping centre smashing windows. You need to come. And then we'd ride around the car park in circles, wait for the police to come. Someone would be brave enough to bunny hop onto the police car bonnet, and we'd all ride away and get chased by them. I thought we were really funny. So we just called the cops and told them to come chase us. And they'd send one car to come suss it out, and there'd be a whole bunch, like 20 kids on their bikes, ready to get chased. It was pretty funny.
Mm. Yeah, we didn't have a group like that. It was just a couple of us. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of shit we were doing in high school also. Just dumb. I don't know. I can't say that all kids do that, because my kids that I have now don't do that. So.
Because they got stuff.
But it is a different.
So what were your grades like then, while this is all going on?
Oh, they were so bad.
And you still
they were so
passed?
bad.
You said you still passed high school? Didn't have to repeat?
Yeah, I basically I did the least amount of work I had to, or I needed to pass until I got into my senior year. And then about a month or two before graduation, the guidance counselor called my parents and said I wasn't going to graduate, and they fucking lost it.
They're like, he ain't gonna make it.
Like, you ain't gonna make it. So I ended up having to go to summer school to get my diploma for high school, and I'm working, full-time job, and they made arrangements for me to like go to summer school. And summer school was such a damn joke. Like, I was like, why didn't I just do summer school like every year? Like, this shit was stupid. I didn't have to do anything to get my diploma after that. Like, I failed English. I had to write a paper, and I didn't write a paper. And then
so pretty much you kind of just slipped through and still passed.
I did. I did. They ended up mailing me my diploma. So I got it in the mail instead of walking with everybody else. But
You flipped through. That's bullet.
oh, dude, I made it. I made it somehow.
And that was your ticket to college or university or?
Yeah, no, I didn't do any of that. I went to work.
Just past high school and walked. You like, fuck that shit.
Yeah, I didn't have any plans to go to college. I didn't like school, and I didn't want to continue going to something I didn't like doing. So
You weren't chasing any girls. There was no girls in the picture at this stage.
well, yeah, of course.
The usual teenage shit.
Yeah, and they were all basically the same, like me, just delinquents.
Yeah. Military
So
kids
there was-
too, mostly, or?
No, there was no military kids.
Yeah, okay.
Not at this point.
Yeah.
We were so far away from the base at this point. My dad was still in, but
Yeah.
he was commuting like pretty far to get to
So
base.
did you have any inkling that you wanted to join at this stage, like at all throughout your young life? You were like, yeah, I'm going to join the military eventually, or was it?
Yeah, dude. My whole life I wanted to join the Army. I thought I was going to be a soldier. Like, that's all I knew. I didn't know what anything else was. I knew what the Air Force was, obviously, because that was what my dad did. And I was like, I want to be in the Army. And I used to collect, like, patches, because the Army has all these patches and shit, and I probably still have them somewhere. But I always told myself that I was just going to join the Army. And then once I got into, like, my, I don't know, junior year of high school, that's when I started doing all the stupid shit. It kind of just went away. It's like, I ain't doing that shit. Like, I love weed too much. And it went away. My whole life I was like, I'm going to be in the military. And then in high school, I got into doing that stuff. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that.
And so what made you come back around to eventually joining the military?
Yeah, that's a good question. Here, I'll give you a little story. So here I was sitting in my buddy's house. We were drinking, smoking weed, snorting coke, doing all kinds of dumb shit. And I was like blitzed out of my mind. And I had this weird like experience where it might sound a little cliche, but I kind of like saw myself outside of my body. Like I was watching myself, but not me. Like I was watching me from outside, looking at me. And I was like, what the, like, I wasn't fucked up looking at myself, but I'm watching my dumb ass just completely blitzed out of my mind. I was like, I got to do something. So I had this like out of body like experience.
You had a good look at yourself in the mirror, didn't you?
Yeah, but it was like just a weird feeling. Like I like saw myself fucking up. And the next day I went to my mom and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about joining the military. She looked at me and said, who you want me to call? I'll get a hold of the recruiter right now. And she was ready, dude. Yeah. And I said, the Marines. And she called the Marine recruiter, and I had an appointment like the next day to go talk to him. And it was that fast.
And we're like that meeting with your recruiter, were you sold at that point? And like, that's what I'm doing? Or is it? Yeah,
I was completely sold. He did a very good job, and I learned this years later when I was a recruiter, but he did a good job of selling me on the things that I was looking for, like travel and adventure, kind of a career, leadership and things like that. So he really hit those on the head and sold me really hard on that. And when I was done talking to him, you know, the one question that we were always told to ask the applicants is like, are you ready to be a Marine? And when he asked me that, I was like, yep, I'm ready. So I had to wait a little bit before I could like go and get everything done, like the physical and all that stuff, because I was just like literally the day before I was snorting coke. So
you had to show.
I couldn't, like, you have to piss test, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
If I would have went up there and popped on it, I would have been disqualified.
My next question is, like, when you finish your recruiting appointment, you walked out of that door. Did you
I stopped right there.
Off straight away? All those people, cut them off? all that as well?
I didn't cut them off, but I stopped doing all that shit.
Yeah. And were you telling them that you're joining? You're like, I'm done. I'm joining.
Yep, that's exactly what I told them.
Yeah. Okay.
And they were all like, "You're fucking crazy. You're never gonna make it." Like, I was like, "I'm gonna make it, motherfucker." And you know, I did slip up. So I did go through the whole I mean, we could probably get into this in a little bit, but I did go through. I got in. I passed everything. I swore in. You know, this was probably a month or two after I said yes that I wanted to be a Marine. That way I made sure I was like completely cleaned out, like, of everything. So I had a ship date. I swore in. And then, so my ship date was probably, I'm trying to remember, it was a long time ago, but I joined like in July, and I had a ship date of October. So sometime between July and October, I slipped up and I smoked some weed, and then I guess I didn't slip up. I just was a dumb fuck and smoked weed, and then I had to be that guy that went, and I learned this later as a recruiter, but I had to be that guy that went to my recruiter and said, "Hey, I can't ship in October. I smoked some weed and I won't pass the piss test in boot camp." And so they had to change my date. And like I said, as a recruiter, when I was a recruiter, those kids fuck everything up when that happens, because you're set on a date and they're expecting you to ship. They go by the numbers. And yeah, I had to tell them that. So I ended up shipping out December 14th. 1998 to boot camp.
I was still smashing windows.
I probably should have been, but no. I mean, I was a little bit older compared to most of the kids in there. I mean, I was 20 at that time.
So boot camp,
but yeah,
was that a massive shock, or were you like super keen? Being a green
no, dude.
Well, tell me about it.
Nah, I wasn't ready. Like, as much as I thought I was decently in shape, because I did play a lot of basketball, and I did a lot of, like, I was always outside doing stuff, sports and things like that, even though we were high all the time, but we still did the stuff. And so it really wasn't really a physical thing. It was more of and I've got a few stories that I remember from boot camp, but it was more of a mental thing at first, just at the beginning, because after a while you get so used to it, it just becomes a routine, and then it's fucking easy. Like, everything's easy after you get into the routine. But I'll tell you a story. My first week, let's see, I got there December 15th. So, 15th, about 10 days later, it was Christmas. And so they decided they were going to let us call home, which is very rare there. Like, you get one phone call when you get there just to tell whoever you're calling that you made it. And it's very scripted. You got to read off of a piece of paper, and there's a certain way you have to read it. If you go back and look at you can find some videos of it, like now on YouTube, but you read it off and then you hang up. You don't even give them a chance to say anything. You just say, "Hey, I've made it here. You'll get a letter from me in 2 weeks. Thank you. Goodbye." And you hang up on them.
Yeah.
But they gave us a phone call for Christmas, like a 5-minute phone call. And I remember before we got in there, our drill instructors were like, "Do not talk about anything here at boot camp." And so they're walking around listening to us as we're talking on the phone. And for some fucking reason, my mom asked me how was it, and I told her it wasn't too bad. And as soon as I said that, my ear got yanked.
Shit.
And I turned around. It was my senior drill instructor just giant black guy, and he was like, "Everybody hang up the phone."
Oh.
And he made everybody hang up the phone, and he started chewing us out. He pulled me out there, put me in the corner, and everybody lost their fucking mouses. Lost their damn phone call because of me.
Wow.
And I felt so fucking bad. They're like, they're like, they were fucking chewing me out, and then they put me in the corner of the building we were in, and they left me in there by myself for like 3 hours. I mean, I was on the other side of base,
exiled,
and I didn't know what to do, dude. I was crying and shit. I was like, everybody's gonna hate me. They're gonna kick my ass. They're gonna beat me up. They're gonna Full Metal Jacket me in the night and shit. You know, like that's the kind of stuff I was thinking. I'm about to get my ass whooped. And then like 3 hours later, one of the drill instructors come back because I'm pretty sure they forgot about me. And when they do this count off when you're in the squad bay, like to make sure everybody's there, and they were probably missing one number, and they're like, oh shit, go back there and get him. So I'm just sitting there by myself for a couple hours. They come back and get me. We run all the way back there, and fortunately we were so exhausted, and like, you know, it was literally only like the first 5 days or 4 days of our actual training part, so everybody was exhausted. Nobody knew each other. We didn't know like everybody's names and shit. They forgot about me, and I never heard anything about it. So maybe there'll be somebody that listens to this that remembers that. But if they do, I'm sorry, man.
You didn't get a nickname for you to lose after that. No one really hassled you over it.
So my last name, and I don't know if you've bleep this out or whatever, but my last name is, and so I was selfish, and all you care about is yourself. And, you know, this is the kind of shit I always heard.
Wow.
So the drill instructor, that's what they did to me. But the recruits, which was what I was more worried about, nothing ever happened with that. Like, I think everybody was just so exhausted and freaked out, and trying to figure everything out. Yeah, exactly.
So boot camp pretty smooth, apart from that?
Yeah, I mean,
because I don't know the process. When you go in, did you know what your MOS was going to be? And for people that don't know, MOS is basically your job. What job you're going to end up having once you come out, so you don't even have a clue.
Basically how the Marine Corps does it, there is some specific jobs that you can pick from, but you have to score. Usually you have to score really high in the ASVAB, and that's the entrance test that you have to take. And when I took mine, I was in high school, and I took it just to get out of class, and I was literally tripping on LSD when I took that test. But I passed it barely. Somehow I passed it. So they're good for like 2 years once you take the test. And when I went to the recruiter, he pulled my thing up and he was like, "Hey, you passed. Do you want to retake it?" I was like, "Fuck no, I don't want to take that test." So you get a list of jobs or fields basically. So originally I picked I want to say it was like aircraft ordnance. Something with aircraft. I don't really remember. And then he when you join, we had these VHS tapes that were like "Welcome to the Marine Corps," whatever. And I was watching the video, and I watched it 1,000,000 times. And there was a portion of it where it was like tanks. and amphibious assault vehicles and artillery and what else? LAD, which is the low altitude air defense, like the Humvees with the guns on them and the rockets and shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to be in a combat MOS without being like on the front line, like a grunt.
Yeah.
So I went and talked to him, and I was like, I want to do this, but I don't want to be a grunt. So he's like, all right, so you want to be combat support. It's like, yeah. So that entailed artillery, tanks, amphibious assault vehicle, and then the air defense vehicles. That was the 4 different jobs. So boot camp, at the end of boot camp, you get basically your first like overall field. So like for me it was 0800, which is just a basic artillery. It could be anything. There's multiple jobs in artillery that are the 08 field. So I didn't know coming out of boot camp, but just like the grunts, they were 0300s, so they didn't have 0311. They weren't specific. You didn't learn that until after you left boot camp and got to the next stage of your training, pretty much. So I for a while I thought I was going to be at Amtrak's, like AAVs. So anytime you had an inspection, there'd be some officer that got in front of you and was like, "What's your MOS?" And I'm like, "AAVs." I'm like, "Oh, tracker, all right." Like I had no clue. I changed it every time. I think in my head, I didn't know what the fuck I was going to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, and once you get ready to graduate, it was that's when they told you the field you were going to be in, like artillery or 0300 or whatever, aircrafts shit. And this, it's going to sound crazy, but at the time when I graduated, Kosovo, Bosnia type shit was going pretty heavy. Mm-hmm. So just like in Full Metal Jacket, when he's like, "You're going to Vietnam," you know, they're like, "You're going to Bosnia," or "You're going to Kosovo." Like that's how they treat it. 0800, yeah, you're going. You're going. You're deploying right away.
Oh,
like,
you're definitely going. Get ready, pack your
yeah,
bags,
you're
boy.
definitely going. Yeah, I feel like I'm in a movie. Like this is bullshit. I mean, it sounds crazy, but that's exactly how it went.
And that was basically your shift in your first deployment, was it, pretty much? Or?
No. I mean, that was it. There's multiple things you gotta do before you get to deployment, but that was boot camp. So boot camp was boot camp. It wasn't too bad. First part sucked. It got easier as you got into the routine. The places, and any Marine will tell you that boot camp is probably one of the funniest places that you can't laugh. Like, there's some funny shit that happens there, but you can't laugh or you get fucked up. Like they'll make you go do stupid shit if you start laughing. But
I've seen some videos and they've made some soldiers disciplined, like they get it, like and they have to do the most ridiculous thing in front of everyone. And you can see that everyone's not allowed to react to it, essentially, like, and he has to do that silly thing, whether it's mop a part of the floor that's ridiculous, no point in mopping that, but they're making him do it anyway, something silly like that.
Oh yeah.
But they'll make him do it every day, every hour he has to do it. No one walks on that area ever, but he has to do it. And there's Terry mopping that thing, and no one, and they have to make him do it a specific way. I've seen little videos of it, so I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then like in the evening, we would have like, I don't know, you get like I can't remember the time, but it was like an hour before you hit the rack and went to bed, where it was like kind of like your time to write letters and like clean your shit, fix up your stuff, and a lot of us would go into the bathroom, and the stalls, they had toilets, but they didn't have any doors or walls, so it was like you're just toilets just sitting out there. So you'd be sitting on the toilet, and everybody would be sitting in there just laughing about the shit that happened during the day.
Yeah.
and then a drill instructor would wander in and fuck us up and get the fuck out, like
Yeah, because you're having fun.
yeah, because he could hear us in there like giggling and shit like little girls and stuff. But yeah, that was like our time and sitting across from each other taking a shit, just cracking up about stupid shit that happened, the past day or two.
And you can't
nobody
even get
cared.
that because the drill instructor will come in and chew you out.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't come in there all the time, but you'd get caught every once in a while.
Yeah, they just want to let you know.
Yep.
So, how long's the transition from boot camp to like qualified soldier gonna go do some work now?
So you still got, like in my my process, you still got to go through Marine combat training, which everybody goes to if they're not infantry. And then you go to your MOS school, and then from there you get your orders to wherever your first duty station is going to be at your MOS school. So that's probably, let's see, MCT was like 30 days. And then I was in my MOS school for, shit, I don't remember. I want to say the course was like 8 weeks. Roughly 8 weeks. So 3 or 4 months before you get to your duty station after boot camp. Depending on your job, obviously, but some jobs are a lot longer. But mine was like when I got to, so MCT. You want to go through MCT, or we can run through it real quick. So MCT is just like Marine combat training. It's for non-infantry people. Everybody goes through it. It's a lot of hiking, shooting machine guns, stuff you don't do in boot camp, like shoot machine guns and throw grenades. And no, you don't throw grenades in boot camp. Throw grenades, shoot grenade launchers, learn basic infantry stuff, like I'm up, they see me, I'm down stuff. Like you're patrolling and digging in, fight.
A lot more live fire, more tactical stuff, and
pretty much. I mean,
a bit more and stuff like that.
Boot camp is just like getting you familiar with the rifle and how to shoot correctly and like proper like proper accuracy stuff in boot camp. But MCT, it's more, that's where you start learning the more, it's the fun shit, like shooting and patrolling and the contact, enemy contact, and clearing towns and doing houses and real basic, not too
sort of stuff.
Yeah. It's more in tune to being a Marine. They say, and you can ask Fed, he'll disagree with you, but like every Marine's a rifleman. He's a little twisted in the head, but I love the guy. But he, that's where you learn how to do that kind of shit. Basics, not too advanced, not intermediate. It's real basic stuff. So
when you started doing that, is that when you like really started to feel like a Marine then? Started to feel like a soldier?
No. I felt like it as soon as I graduated boot camp.
As soon as you were there, like boom, as soon as they said you're in, pretty much.
Yes, like you go through boot camp, you go through the final thing for me was the Crucible. It's like a 3-day training exercise, and at the end of it, they give you your Eagle Globe anchor in your hand.
Yep.
And they say, "Congratulations, Marine." That's where they call you Marine for the first time, and it's like everybody cries.
Yeah.
Like little babies.
Did it?
When that happens, because you just went through a lot. We did it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's when I really started feeling like it. And then MCT was like where you start feeling like, kind of feel like a badass, but I realize it's real basic, because you got the infantry guys are just down the road from you and they're getting fucked up doing their shit. They're there for months learning stuff.
Yeah.
we're there for 20 something days and then we're out. So, but after that, I went to Fort Sill, which is where my job MOS school was at. That's where I learned how to do artillery cannoneer stuff, shoot the cannons, all the maintenance, learned about all the ammo. A lot of stuff to learn. It's a pretty wild place, but it was fun. Like, Fort Sill was a good time. I was 21 by then, and of course I was like the old guy, but you got some liberty, you got weekends off, so you kind of got to experience a little bit more outside of the barracks. And that's where we went to, out in Oklahoma at the time. I can't remember if they still did that or not, but they had like full nude bars, like where they were just completely nude. You had to bring your own beer, bring your own liquor type shit. So we spent a lot of time doing that on the weekends. And yeah, it was a good time.
Made a lot of good friends around that time, did you?
Yeah, I mean, some of the guys stayed in for as long as I did. I mean, I knew them for most of my career. Most of them, like, staying in for more than 4 years is pretty uncommon with Marines, because it's not really built to be for everybody to stay in forever because of the size. Like, we're really small, so a lot of those guys they just did 4 and got out, or got in trouble and got kicked out, or that happens
just not a lot of
quite
jobs
often.
because you're so small, or is it?
No, I mean, there is a lot of jobs, but each job only has a certain amount of slots, so they can't allow, like, if there was say there was 100 people and that the limit for that job was 100, and then you got these people coming up behind you that are getting ready to get into this job, either you're having to move on or get out, or get promoted and move to the next level or something like that. So
it's really really the sort of area where it's going to make people's career, like people that really want it, they'll continue the career and try and get pushed further, and other people will drop off, like you said, sort of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, and there's always options to move around to different jobs, but I mean, you read out my basic career, and I moved around a lot.
Yeah.
And I did different jobs, and in between all that, there was also other stuff going on in my career life, different things. But yeah, I mean, like, I still have some pretty good friends that I went to school with.
Yeah.
Everybody's out now, but that would have been almost 30 years ago now.
Damn.
Long time. I'm the old guy.
Yeah. I feel that. That's alright. Alright, well, we'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll hit up the deployment, if you're ready for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
How you going, guys? Why don't you take this moment in the break to hit subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment for us. Let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, so we can grow this channel to something really good. I'm loving this new project. I really want to get the community involved, so let me know how it's going down in the comments so we can just push it further. Alright, guys, back to the pod.
Like, well, what's the lead up to being deployed like? How soon did you know that it was going to happen? Like, because you're seeing what's going on in the news anyway. You know that other Marines are at war anyway. So what's it like knowing that you're going to step? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So after I got through all, like, my MOS school, that shit was done. So it was over. Those guys had already all come back. Like, they were in Kosovo. Not really doing a lot. Like, some of the Marines that went there, I know a few of them, and they didn't really get into much. Like, there was a few incidents, but very minimal. So they finished that up and they came back, but the build up to deploying was like 4 years. So it was like, I basically, when I got out of MOS school, I got my orders to my first unit, which was Kilo Battery in 3rd Battalion, 10th Marines in Camp Lejeune. So I got my orders there and I went there. And so picture flying in, you get there, you get picked up at the airport by a white government van, and they take you to a receiving area where you kind of like, you're just sitting there waiting to get picked up by your unit. And this, I remember this vividly. They came to get us. It was a corporal. It was like 2 corporals, and we're all private. Or I was a PFC at that time, so I had got promoted once. And they pick us up and they take us to the barracks. And when we pulled up to the barracks, I'm gonna tell you, this shit was terrifying. We get to the barracks, and just imagine like 3 levels of barracks with all outside like catwalks. Like basically, everybody's standing outside on the catwalks, and they're like, "Oh yeah, fresh meat. We're gonna fuck you." And like, we're like, what's happening? We're about to get fucked up. And they drop us off, and a couple guys like guide us to our rooms. We get assigned rooms, and then that's the first night. The first night, they made us stay up and clean our rooms until like 2 in the morning. And the NCOs, the corporals, kept coming back and checking our rooms, and they were drunk. They were drinking. They were making us drink. Like, it was just crazy. Like, we're up until 2 in the morning. Like,
this mid-90s by now?
No, this was 99. So end of the like late 90s.
Yeah.
So they're like making us take shots and drink beers, and like it nothing that we wanted to do, like, because we were just terrified. We didn't know what was going on. There was probably, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7 of us that came all to the same unit, and so they were just fucking with us for hours our first night, and then the next day it was, I don't even remember what happened after that. After that it was starting like getting assigned what gun section you were on, and who your section chief was going to be. So you just basically doing that shit, getting ready, and then you go to your first field op, and that's when you take the guns out and you go shoot them. And back then we did a lot of stuff on the base. Later on, we did some traveling, like to different bases, and did training. But you'd be out in the field for 2 or 3 weeks, and just no sleep, hardly any food. Like these guys made us like fight each other, like not like fist fight, but like wrestle for our MREs. So they'd throw one in the middle, and we'd all have to fight for it. And every morning before we can go get breakfast, we had to stand up in between the guns and sing the Marines hymn. And my corporal at the time, he made it, and I'll get into this guy, but he would make us do that. Then we'd have to go dig holes, and just a lot of dumb shit. Now I look back and I'm like, yeah, it was good training. Like, it was fun, because once you got, higher in the ranks, and you started being able to kind of do a little bit of that yourself, and you weren't the boot, like we were called boots, because we were the new guys, so you weren't the boot anymore after a little bit. But yeah, so like, even working up to the first deployment, like I literally did 3 years without anything. Like, we were peacetime Marine Corps. There was nothing going on, no wars, no nothing. So all we did was, we were still training to fight the Russians back then. So everything we did was geared around fighting the Russians. And I was going to get out. Like, I told myself I haven't done anything but train. No real world stuff, no deployments. We were scheduled towards the end of my first enlistment to go on a MEU. So the workup for that was 6 months prior. You start the workup and start training for it, and it was just supposed to be a regular old MEU deployment, which is usually for where we were at. You'd go out and get on a Navy ship and float around the Mediterranean and hit ports and in different countries and go partying and just doing shit like that. So that's what we were expecting to do, and it didn't feel like, personally to me, it didn't feel like I was doing anything. Like, I didn't join the Marine Corps just to go do that shit. Like, I joined it to go fight and, you know, to do real deployments and stuff like that. So the whole workup, we were just planning on getting on ship and floating around the Mediterranean and going to different countries and Liberty ports and drinking and partying and seeing the sights and stuff like that. And then we went on our pre-deployment leave, which is usually, I think it was like 2 weeks. You got like basically 2 weeks to go home and before you actually went and got on ship and deployed. So I went and did that, and went home, hung out with my parents, some old friends and shit, and drove back to Camp Lejeune on I think the day before we were supposed to all be back. And I get there kind of late the night before, and I get woken up the next day. So somebody banging on my door, and I'm like, what the fuck do you want? Like, I'm yelling at this guy, like, why are you banging on my door so early? And he's like, hey man, so come get up, man, come down here. Some plane just ran into the World Trade Center. So I'm like, what the fuck? What an idiot. So I got up, went down there. I get into the room, and as I'm watching the TV, the second plane hit the World Trade Center, and I was like, oh fuck. Like, this shit's going down right now. So they locked the base down. They recalled everybody to come back. So anybody who wasn't back, they had to be back like by the next day. And so we watched all that unfold on TV live, like live TV, watching planes hit World Trade Centers and shit. And yeah, the next day they're like, we weren't supposed to like actually get on the ship for like another month. And they had us pack all our shit up, and we went and sat out in this parking lot with all our gear. And we were supposed to go up to New York to help with the recovery. But instead, we grabbed all of our shit, all of our howitzers, our trucks, everything, and we loaded everything up, and we got in them, and we drove probably an hour up the road to where the Navy ship was docked. It was on a civilian port just right up the road in North Carolina in Morehead City. And it's wild because we're like, yeah, we're about to go fucking do some shit. And I remember I was riding in the back of the truck, and we're pulling a howitzer behind us. And people were lined up on the streets, like cheering for us, waving the flags. There was guys pulling up in the, like beside us, yelling, go fuck them up, go get them. Like they were like all pumped for us to go. And we were all pumped to go. And yeah, like we loaded up a month early and got on the ship, and we started heading across the Atlantic on the ship, ready to go. And I was like, fuck yeah, we're going to go do some shit. But the problem is, so we weren't, like, war wasn't declared. So the way it works is if you're on a Navy ship and you're going from the United States across the Atlantic Ocean, you can't just go straight across because it's an act of war for somebody. So you have to do these, like, what we call grid squares. So like the ship will go, and then it'll do like a little square, and then it'll go a little further, and you have to do that shit all the way across the ocean. And it took forever. So like I'd wake up in the morning and I'd see that the sun was on the wrong side of the ship, and it would piss me off because we were going in the wrong direction. Like, we were all ready to go. We were ready to fucking go, man. We're like, let's go. But we didn't have any orders. We didn't know what we were doing. Nobody was telling us shit. So it took like a week to get across the Atlantic. And this is our first deployment, right? We get across, finally we see land, and it's like Portugal and Spain. Like, we're going through this Strait of Gibraltar, into the Mediterranean. And like, we stop at a port in Rota, Spain. And that's kind of where we like loaded up on gear. The ship's reloaded with supplies, and we do a lot of inventory on our gear and maintenance on all of our stuff. And so we're there for a couple days. And I got a funny story. So while we were there, I used to wear glasses, and I needed to get a new set. So I went to a doctor in Rota to get a new set of glasses, and they were like going to ship them to the ship. But while I was doing that, they briefed us before we got off the ship to watch out for people running around in scooters, like little scooters, because they don't stop. And sure as shit, one of my buddies got run the fuck over by a scooter and got like seriously injured and had to like stay there for like 2-3 weeks while we left, and then they flew him out to us. But we fucked with him so hard. Like, we called him Scoots. Like, all right, Scoots.
Scooter boy.
Yeah. Yeah, he got fucking run over by a Spanish scooter.
By a moped, of all things.
Yeah, by a moped, yeah. Yeah, a moped. And so still at that point, like, we're rearing to go, do something. We had no clue what was going to happen. And then we went we went to Egypt, and we did a beach landing into Egypt for some training. It was called Operation Bright Star, and it was like 30 different countries or 20 different countries. It was some weird number, but they were all participating in this. So we had like the Spanish, the Germans, the British, the French. There was like a whole bunch of different countries there, and we were all doing this operation there, training operation. And we're shooting our howitzers in Egypt out in the desert. And I was like, fuck, well, we're in Egypt. Maybe I'll get to see some shit, like some pyramids and stuff. But no, we saw nothing but desert. I mean, we were out in the Sahara Desert fucking doing jack shit. So everybody was pissed off because we 9/11 happened. We're all pumped. We're like ready to go do some shit. And here we are in fucking Egypt training. But the one cool thing about that was at the end of it, there was a camp set up, and we were all segregated in this camp by country, basically. So right next to us was the French and the British. So every night we would meet up at the fence with these guys, the French and the British army, and we would trade shit. Like, they wanted like t-shirts, like unit t-shirts, and like Leathermans. They loved fucking Leathermans, and they would give us shit. But we traded cool shit for wine because they had alcohol. So we were trading like Leathermans and knives and fucking t-shirts and shit for bottles
of shit wine.
Bottles of shit wine, and then we would get shitty drunk and have the worst hangovers because it's wine. And that's what we did. We never traded for. I didn't get nothing cool, but a hangover. That's about it. But yeah, so after that, we got back on ship, and then we cruised up to in between Italy and like where Bosnia, Kosovo, like those countries are. So we were in that area, and we were supposed to fly in and do some cold weather training in Kosovo. And we were like, man, fuck this. Like, nobody wanted to do this shit. We were all dreading it. And that's when we got the call that it was canceled, and we were to push through the Suez Canal and go into the Indian Ocean. So thank God they canceled that. We pushed through the Suez and we sat off. We shipped over to off the coast of Pakistan, and at that point they started coming up with some plan. We started getting a bunch of briefs on, what we were going to do and shit like that. And they split our unit, like my battery, they split us in half. And half of them went in to do a mission. And I was on the second half, so I felt some kind of way. I felt like I was a failure because I didn't get picked to go on this first mission that they were going to do. So we sat there for like another week with half the unit. The other half was in doing some shit. They couldn't even tell us what they were doing. And then we got the call that we were going to go, and we got on hovercraft that the ships had, and we did a beach landing into Pakistan. And then from there, we trucked over to this shitty airfield in Pakistan and jumped on C-130s and flew to right outside of Kabul, Afghanistan. And our mission was to retake and reinforce the American embassy in Kabul, which was closed, and it hadn't been opened for, I don't know, I guess since the late 80s when Russia was there. And when Russia was leaving, the Taliban or whoever the fuck it was at the time was the war was getting kind of crazy, so they pulled all the Americans out of the embassy. So when we got there, we were in Bagram Airfield before it was actually built up. There was anything there. We took these little vans that were driven by Afghans, and it was like one door with curtains over the windows. And it was like this little Arabic van. It was wild. But we had a whole squad in there. And I'm like, dude, if we get fucking attacked in this thing, we're all dead. Like, there's only one way out of this bitch. But fortunately, we had F-15s escorting us into Kabul, and we got to the embassy.
Wait a minute, I just want to acknowledge the fact that you've got F-15s covering basically a tuk-tuk.
Yes, yes, and
hanging into
it was. Well, yeah. So it was like 3 squads, 3 vans, no gun trucks, no nothing. We weren't in American vehicles. We were in these little fucking. It looked like taxi cab vans with curtains in the windows, and that's how we got into Kabul without being seen. And we had Air Force way above us. Like, you could look up and see the trails of their, from their, how high they were.
Yeah.
But they were basically tracking us the whole time, and we cruised into the biggest city in the country in these little vans. And when we got to the embassy, we all piled out of these things, and the Afghans that were they were everywhere, like all around the outside of it. They were like, "What the fuck?" They were surprised that we were piling out of these vans, Americans, You
guys literally just came out of nowhere.
We did. We pulled up at the gate. We all had our assigned mission. Like I knew where my fire team was going to be going. I was a corporal at that time, so I had a fire team. And it was me. It was me, 3 other guys, and I had my M16 with a 203 grenade launcher on it. I don't think they don't do it anymore, but we had this butt pack, was what we called it. So it was a little pouch, and inside that fucker, I had 203 grenade rounds. I had a claymore. I had some other kind of explosives, and I was like, if I get shot in my ass, we're all dead. Like, we're gonna blow to pieces. But so I laugh at it now. It was terrifying, but yeah, we get to the embassy. We fucking we all have our assigned spots, and we run in there. We hold our positions, and then after that, it was just basically providing security for the embassy while they kind of went through everything, and we had State Department guys with us that came after we went in there. They said they were State Department, but that just means they were like CIA dudes.
Yeah.
We had DEA guys with us. You know, they all came in after we secured the area. The DEA guys were cool as shit because they let us use their sat phone to call home, and we were there during Christmas, so he let us call home on his satellite phone. Let everybody do it.
Why would the DEA? Isn't they drug enforcement agency?
Yeah.
But they were just undercover as DEA, and they were actually probably CIA or one of the other agencies.
Yeah, I don't know if he was actually DEA. I was thinking he was because there was a lot of drugs.
Clearly, probably, maybe not. Like, that's a bit soft.
Yeah, probably not.
Who knows? Anyway.
All right.
So he let you use the sat phone.
Yeah, he let us all. He let us on Christmas Day. He let everybody come up, and we all got to use the phone. We were on the roof of the embassy, calling home. But it was weird because, like, for us, Christmas Day. It was either the day before or a couple days before, but it was the end of Ramadan for the Muslims. So it's a big party when that happens, and of course, I happened to be on the phone with my mom, and I'm telling her, you know, hey, I mean, I can't really tell you where I'm at, but if you watch the news, you probably figure it out. And at that time, Ramadan ended, and everything around us, people were just shooting AKs in the air, and it was like, it sounded like a war zone. And my mom was like, my mom was like, what is that? What's going on? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, it's just dumbasses ending their holiday and they're shooting their guns in the air. And I mean, and the whole sky was just covered in tracer rounds and shit. It was wild.
So you and your crew took back an American embassy with zero resistance and just fucking lived there for a bit.
We lived there until just right before New Year's. And then this is New Year's of 2001. And then we got relieved by the 4th something. There was some new unit, anti-terrorism something or other. They came and relieved us. We reopened the embassy. We had a big ceremony. The president of Afghanistan was there. There was a bunch of freaking foreign dignitaries, and how do you say his name? Hamid Karzai or something, whatever the president was there forever. The airport's named after him out there, but he was there. We did a big ceremony, flag raising. Like our whole idea was, and I brought it up to our captain. I was like, hey, let's get in this embassy and let's raise that fucking flag up on the pole to show them that we retook, like, this is ours, and that they wouldn't let us do it. We couldn't do it. So
they're worried about the flag, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. And news was everywhere. There was constantly camera people at the gate, and you can look across the city and you'll see like these lights, and it's lights from cameras, and you can see the news people like talking on the camera, like from a distance. We had our optics on them, and we were just watching everything. Sort of thing. Yeah, and so no, we couldn't do it, but we did a big ceremony, and we re-raised the American flag, and we actually, while we were in the embassy, we found some stuff. We found one of the original flags, and it had a note from the Marines that were there before they got extracted out of there, like 12 years prior. And it said, whoever gets this flag, please re-raise it at the embassy. So we used that flag and raised it up at the embassy. So that was kind of like a little patriotic moment for everybody. And we found, we had the rec room that the Marines had that was all full of record players. So every night people were just in there playing old fucking records and shit. In the basement we found, and of course we would find this, but there was pallets of beer down there. And 12-year-old beer. It's been sitting there for 12 years. So
Damn,
some of us stole some of it and took it to the roof and were drinking it, and it was like we were basically chewing on chunks of beer. It was horrible, but fuck it, we did it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from there we went to back up to the air base, and we got picked up in C-17s and flew down to Kandahar, and then we sat around the airfield providing security at the Kandahar airport for the rest of the time we were there, for like another month or two. I think it was another month before we went back out on ship, got picked up. But that's where we did get into some contact there at the airfield. So that was the first little tiny bit of combat that I saw on my first deployment. It was very, very, very little. Not a whole lot to it. Of course, we all got our little combat action ribbons for it. And
Did you see the enemy?
fuck no, didn't see shit.
It was one of those engagements.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like somebody was pop shotting from somewhere, and normally what we do is we get shot at by, somebody shoots 2 rounds at us, we throw back 300 at them. So that's pretty typical Marine shit that we do. Especially back then, we were all kind of like tired, and we hadn't showered in like, it was like 40, 50 days. We hadn't taken a shower. And then when we got on ship, we smelled like death, and the Navy people, we're making them throw up. It was bad. We stunk so bad.
So in the contact of the airport, were you effective, or was it just you just scared the enemy away?
We didn't even shoot. Like, somebody pop shot it on the back part of our, like, we were facing to the north. Somebody shot at the south part, and we weren't even on that. Like, we didn't have any of our people over there. There was some other unit over there. And they shot a few rounds, and then we just kind of watched the mayhem from over there.
Yeah.
But I would assume it was effective because nobody shot at us again.
Yeah.
They did shoot at the planes coming in and out of the airfield. You did see that quite often. But
So it's something that's a regular occurrence around the airport sort of thing anyway?
yeah, at that time, yeah, because
It's a big target.
I mean, yeah, and we were still the military was still worried about flying around on C-130s and C-17s because they were pretty sure that the Afghans still had
Stinger missiles and such.
the Stingers, yeah, that we gave them back in the 80s, which they did, but they had some kind of shit that was jamming those, so they couldn't use them against us. And we had a air defense for some reason. Like, they don't have planes, they didn't have helicopters.
Yeah. So somehow.
But we had SAM missiles, like the Humvee on the game. We had that shit right next to my hole. Dude sitting in that all day, all night, ready for something to fly over. I don't know what, because it really wasn't drones and shit, but
just in case factor maybe. So
Yeah.
you get back in the plane, and you make all the Navy guys and Air Force throw up. Do you go back to ship at this point, or are you going back to another base?
yeah, no. So when we left the Kandahar airfield, we flew back down into Pakistan, and we got on the hovercraft that the Navy uses, and they drove us back over to the ship. And that's when the Navy they were kind of like, oh, welcome back, and they were like, oh my God, you smell like death. And it was like, we just wanted to take a shower, dude. We hadn't taken a shower in like 50 days. And we didn't wash clothes. I mean, we had shit. We ran out of food. Like, we were eating vegetarian MREs that just didn't have shit in them. We were rationing water because we beat all of our supplies out there. So we got like 2 of those big, like, liter bottles of water. And that's what we had to ration between my team. Like my four guys plus me had to. That's all we had.
So
So
you got, yeah.
yeah, so it was pretty rough, but it was nice to get out of there, get on ship, and kind of head back. That was basically the end of that, and we floated around, did some shit to get home, and went home. Went back across the Atlantic on the boat.
Were you satisfied going home at this
I
point?
was.
Or were you hungry for more?
Well, no. So I was satisfied that I actually got to do something real, and I re-enlisted because of that. So I re-enlisted for another 4 years because of that deployment.
Sort of set the tempo for the rest of your career, you think?
Yeah, it kind of got me going. So once you get back from a deployment and you get back into the regular flow of being on base and at home, not deployed, it's kind of boring. So I was looking for somewhere else to go after that, something different, something new. So I had an option because I re-enlisted. I got to kind of pick where I wanted to go. So that's when I picked to go to Quantico to be an artillery instructor at the basic school for officers. So once the officers passed their initial candidate school, the officer candidate school, they went to the basic school, and that's where they learned how to do all their bullshit. But we shot artillery for them, and that's when they learned how to call for fire. And they'd come out on the gun line and shoot with us and stuff like that. So I decided to do that, and that was a decent duty station. I mean, by that time I was married. My first child was born, so I got to be home, with all that. And the only problem with being up there was that you weren't deployable. So no matter what happened, you weren't deploying. You were kind of in a training unit. And Iraq kicked off while I was there. So all of us were like itching to go do something, but we couldn't do anything. So we kind of listened to the whole invasion of Iraq on the radio that first night that they started the push into Iraq. And of course all of us were like fucking pissed because we're there and Marines are going in across the border and pushing into Iraq, like, fuck, can't do nothing. But ultimately it was probably better for me because my family was very young and I had a very young child, and I got to be there for all that. I didn't miss any of that.
You didn't miss it, yeah.
Which was nice.
So how old were they on your second deployment then, when you went away the second time?
Yeah, so second deployment came quite a few years later. When I went on my second deployment, I had 3 children by that time. And they were all little. They were... Shit, I don't remember how old they were. But they were just little kids. My youngest was still, like, very, very little.
Yeah.
Like, barely walking little. But, yeah, that was years later. I actually I did a stint on recruiting in between that and my second deployment. But you want to get into the second deployment?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Keep it rolling.
Yeah, so I'll kind of get into how that happened, how it started. So I was on recruiting duty, and I was in Wichita Falls, Texas, which is on the northern part of Texas, basically on the Oklahoma border. And so I'm in the middle of recruiting, and I get an email from one of my buddies who is still out in the fleet, you know, on the artillery side, and he says, hey, there's a class going on at Fort Sill, which was like 45 minutes or an hour or so from where I lived at, and it's going to be the advanced cannon crewman course. It's the first one. He's like, it's meant for like people coming off recruiting duty to kind of get back into the swing of things. Can you do it? I was like, yeah, I can do it. So I talked to my command. I got into the class, went to the class. I met a couple master sergeants who were from the fleet, and got to know one of them really well. And so as I'm getting out of recruiting duty, I emailed. I found out I had orders to go to Pendleton to his battalion, and I emailed him and said, hey, do you got anything deploying soon, because I need to get out and do a deployment. And he got back from me. He's like, "Hey, I got this ETT." He said, "He's like, I really don't know what it is, but there's a spot open. Do you want it?" And I was like, he said, "They're going to Afghanistan." I was like, "Yeah, put me on it." So don't tell my wife this, because she doesn't know this, but I volunteered to take this mission, take this assignment, and I told her that, she's probably listening, I told her that I got orders to go do this shit. But anyways, I volunteered for it. But so we pack up, we leave Texas, we drive out to Pendleton. I check into the unit and I get put on this ETT, which is an embedded training team. Basically, we're going to embed with an Afghan Army battalion, and we're going to help kind of train, support, go out on missions with them. We're there to be like advisors. So we're part of the advisor corps, I guess. So that was, we did a big workup for that. Then we deployed. It was a year-long deployment, which is pretty rare for Marines, but for this type of mission, it was like crucial to be out there for the whole time. And so we get out to Afghanistan. We're in the northwestern part of Afghanistan in the mountains. Just imagine a team of 20 Marines. We're split up into a 5-man headquarters element, which I was part of, and then you got three 5-man like teams that would go in bed with the companies that were scattered throughout a province. And there was no Americans in the province we were in. So we were the only Americans in the entire province. The only thing we had was about an hour south of us was a base with French Foreign Legion. We're down there.
No.
So, yeah. So I got stories about that shit, but so I gotta tell you this story. Just because it brings it up.
Just before you start that, we got no rush anymore. I just freed up time, so we're good.
Okay, all right. So coming into Afghanistan for the second time, we flew in to Bagram. So just imagine I was in Bagram in 2001, and then I'm back in Bagram in 2000 and when did I get off recruiting duty? 2009. So 2009, and that shit looked like a whole city. The runways were all redone. There was like air traffic control buildings. When I was there the first time, there were still Russian MiGs on the runway.
Okay, so there's still a lot of good
There was.
like working infrastructure and shit going on.
When I got there the second time, it was all different. So the whole infrastructure was just redone, and I was like, God dang, like I can't recognize this place. There's a Burger King and shit. Like, this is wild. So we flew into there, and then we trucked down to there. There's multiple bases in Kabul, and we go to the one that our advisor corps is at. That's where the colonel and sergeant major and everybody's at. So we go there, and then we're supposed to be what you call relief in place with the unit that you're replacing. But the way we had worked it out was I was going to go first because I was tasked as the supply slash logistics slash, whatever guy. Like, that was going to be who I was advising, was their supply logistics people, which is what's horrible. But so they wanted me to go out there first, and they literally called in a Black Hawk for me and this lieutenant who I was relieving out there. So I was taking the place of this lieutenant who literally did not go to the little base that everybody was at. He stayed at the headquarters because he was a little pussy. He didn't go out to the field, so they call Black Hawk in. Black Hawk comes and picks us up in the middle of the night, just me and him. And this is some fucked up shit. We're flying through the mountains like the shit you see on what was that movie where they killed Bin Laden?
Oh, fucking Zero 100 Hour or whatever.
Yeah, Zero Dark 30. You know when the helicopter's flying through the mountains and shit? Yeah. That's what we were doing, right? We're flying through the mountains, and it's just one helo, one Black Hawk, and next thing I know, he starts doing these like turns coming down to land. So this fucking lieutenant, right, the guy I'm relieving. So we land, and you can't see shit. Like, there's nothing. And the fucking pilot turns around and looks at me and says, "Is this it? Is this it?" And I'm like, "I don't fucking know if this is it. What do you mean, is this it?" And I look at the lieutenant, I was like, "Is this where we're supposed to be at?" He's like, I think so. Wow. So I was so mad at this motherfucker. I was like, "You're a fucking dumbass piece of shit." So we get out of the helo, right? Me and him. That's it. Just me and him. And the fucking Black Hawk takes off, and we're standing in the middle of a valley with nothing around us. We literally got dropped off in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, "You motherfucker." I was like, "I'm going to fucking kill you, you piece of shit motherfucker." Like, we were literally not even close to where we were supposed to be at. We were in the bottom of the valley. The camp and base was up on the top of the hill, some couple miles away. And as I'm standing there, there's these mud huts kind of around the area. All these Afghans start coming out of their houses, and I'm like, "God damn." Like, this is the shit you see where people get their heads cut off on TV and shit. So, I mean, I'm locked and loaded. I'm ready to go. And the next thing I know, I hear a guy say, American. And I'm like, "Yeah." And I didn't know, but fortunately, the whole bottom part of the valley where we were at was loaded with Afghan army. So
fucking hell.
these motherfuckers, like, get in this. Like, they don't speak English, but we jumped in the back of this little fucking Toyota pickup truck, and they drove us up the hill to the base. And my whole team was on the top of the mountain, just where the LZ was at the top. They're like, "Did they drop you off in the valley?" Like, yes. They dropped us off in the valley because this motherfucker right here. So I blamed him for everything. But yeah, that was terrifying, dude.
Well, fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy. I don't even remember his name, but fuck that guy.
That's funny. That's like the epiphany of joining an ARMAREFORGER public lobby and getting in the first helicopter.
Exactly.
Fucking put fuck knows where.
Exactly. Yeah, put me down right here. Like, where the fuck am I? I don't know. Is this it? When the Black Hawk pilot asks, "Is this it?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, we're fucked." So
that's your entry to where you're going to
second deployment.
Second deployment.
Yeah, that's before even the whole unit got out there. Like, god damn.
That's your start to Afghanistan. Essentially.
That's the start. Yep, that's the start to the second part. Second deployment, Afghanistan.
You're like, fuck.
It got better from there. Like,
it did?
Once we got the hang of it, yeah, it was all good. Like, we had a lot of stuff, a lot of meetings. Like, we were living with them. It was just a small team, with attached to the headquarters unit, and we're trying to get them to run self-sufficiently. But they being a logistics supply, legit supply guy or whatever. All they ever did was, I need water, I need food, I need ammo, I need this, I need that. I'm like, get it, put in the paperwork, and I had to go through all that. It was annoying, but.
Well, the Afghan army like to work with, and be honest.
They were shit. Like, there was no way. We all knew that they were fucked. They weren't self-sufficient. They relied on everything from us. Even if they went through and, like, you had a certain process you had to follow for them, if they needed fuel, like, they had to go through their battalion, but that was in Kabul. But in Kabul, their battalion also had advisors of Americans. So it would get to the battalion, and then they would have to go to another process to get fuel. So literally, it was just coming from us, and they were just going through the motions of filling out a paperwork or sending an email or whatever. Like, I don't even remember if they had fucking computers. I don't think they did, but making a phone call or some bullshit. But there was always some other American with the person they were contacting that was an advisor that was supposed to be going through the pretty much. Yeah. I mean, it was worthless. But
did you even come across like the couple of Afghani dudes that were capable, and they really, you could tell they were passionate about what they were there for? Was there like, because I always feel there has to be a handful of dudes there that have got their heads screwed on, that know what's going on, that they want good for their country, like, and they're actually really trying, like. Yeah,
most of those guys were not at the command level. They were at the company, like the company commanders or the platoon sergeants, like those guys. Not all of them, but a lot of them you can tell cared. But they don't really show it. The culture is completely different. So it's like there's no real like emotions. They don't show it. But you can like tell from the speeches they give their guys. You know, we had interpreters. We had a bunch of them with us, and they would tell us what they were saying, and you could tell it was like patriotic and stuff like that. Like there was a few, but most of the time the higher ups, the colonels and the generals and they were corrupt, and there was.
That's what I figured. They'd be corrupt. They'd be selling everything they're getting from you guys mostly.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like we'd get fuel and they'd steal that shit.
Missing or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd send it home or something like that.
Yeah, completely different culture. Did you ever see any of them, like, as reference to what we were speaking to before, like they really cared? Did you ever see anything in their actions, like something gallantry they did, or?
Yes, actually, I did. I actually had to write up an award for an Afghan guy, and he got the highest heroic award in the Army because of what I wrote up. So it's kind of fucked up how it happened because they left us. So we went on a mission with them. They were supposed to be patrolling down by vehicles to this area that hadn't. Basically, the Army was there like 6 months ago, but they were getting rocketed and like mortared every day, and they were getting fucked up. So they left this base completely, just left it. So we were going down there because there was a meeting with an elder from one of the villages. And so we get down there, and we stop for the night at this old fob. And the next morning we get up, and we're supposed to convoy over to this meeting. And the fucking Afghans in their little Humvees, we're in an MRAP, and the terrain was really bad, and they fucking just left us. So we're cruising around in this MRAP by ourselves through this valley. No support, no backup, no nothing. Just one MRAP, me in the turret. My fucking captain is driving. My lieutenant colonel's is in the passenger seat, and I'm just like, I can't fucking see them. So they were hauling ass, and they left us. And as we're catching up to them, there's this huge explosion right in front of us, and its Humvee hit a double-stacked anti-tank mine that was buried as an IED. It was an Afghan Humvee, and it fucking blew the gunner out of the turret and killed the 2 guys that were in the driver and passenger seat. So we pulled off, and I watched an Afghan come flying over from another vehicle and pull the guy who got flung out by the turret as the vehicle's cooking off and all the ammo. They had bags of RPGs and that thing that were blowing up. And he didn't think twice. He ran over there, dragged the guy that was on the ground in the turret, went back, pulled the rear passenger out, and dragged him away from the vehicle, out of harm's way as ammo, 50 cal ammo, RPGs, all kinds of shit was just cooking off in the vehicle, blowing up. So I watched the whole thing happen and got to write the guy up, and he got awarded some kind of big valor medal for it. It was pretty awesome to see.
Did you get to speak to him after it happened? After the incident, like straight away, or did you?
I didn't speak to him. I was just a witness.
Yeah.
Our corpsman went over to help treat him and everybody else.
Okay.
So they talked to him, and then our corpsman got an Army Achievement Award for that incident too, for keeping the guys alive. So he saved the guy that was in the turret that got blown out. He lost both his legs, and he had to go out there and like tourniquet him and get him all fixed up. So he got an award for that. But I never spoke to the guy.
Was that like regular occurrence of those guys getting hit like that, was it, or?
Not regular, no. But it did happen quite often. We did get a lot of indirect fire rockets. I had a rocket, 107 millimeter Russian rocket, and the way they used to shoot them at us was they would cook them off. So they'd point the rocket in the direction that they wanted to shoot it, and they would light a fire under the back of it to cook the engine, and they would shoot it off. But I had one rocket land like 20 feet from where I was walking, knocked me the fuck out, and didn't have a scratch other than a little bit of a concussed like feeling, but I should have been fucking dead, honestly. But that was pretty normal, like getting indirect fire. They were pretty accurate with that shit.
Were they like,
not a lot of firefights?
Targeting like Afghanis, or were they just targeting anyone that was authority?
No, they were targeting the Americans on the.
They really wanted to get involved.
Yeah, they were shooting at our FOBs and our little combat outposts and stuff like that. That AT mine was probably meant for an MRAP, like so our vehicle, but the Humvee happened to go over it first, the Afghan Humvee.
What's a lot of the young men over there, like Afghanis, are they like rushing to sign up? And one, because it's a job offer that pays and gives them shelter and security.
Yeah.
Is it more so that than what the cause is, you think, or?
Yeah, I think it was a mixture of the job. So it was like more money than they'd make anywhere else. And like you get the food, because a lot of them are starving. You know, they're just living off the land and shit in some areas. But I think it was a mixture of that, and then I think it was probably a mixture of getting snatched off the street and saying you're going to be going to Army.
Yeah.
With no options.
With no other option, really. Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't everybody, because when you're like, I drove around their biggest city in their country, Kabul, and it was a whole different world, like driving through that, because there was a college, there was like the females were running around like college girls, you know, there were Afghans, there was like young men that were, you know, going to school and like having normal jobs and shit.
Like joining the Afghan army would almost be class-based, like.
Maybe,
you know
yeah.
What I mean, like if you come from a rich family, you're probably not going to be forced to join the army. You're probably going to go to a college and become an engineer or something, you know, rather than.
Yeah, I don't know of any rich families, but I'm sure there was we weren't in those kind of areas, so
It's crazy, different culture.
yeah, it was wild. It was two completely different things, because you go out like out in the country, which would be like the rural areas, and I remember going to some very remote towns, and when we got there, the people, they were so out of it and like behind that they thought we were Russians. They're like, "Are you Russians?"
Okay, yeah, right. They were that far back in
And Russians had been gone for a long time.
Years, yeah.
And so that's how rural that shit is. Like, they don't see people.
They know nothing of the news or anything even.
Nothing.
It's not even coming out there, so how they're supposed to know, yeah.
No, I mean, they may have radios. There's no TVs. There's no, no real good electricity, but maybe some little crank hand radios or some shit.
So, being that your second deployment, and that's when you, like, I don't want to put it like this, but that's when you really, really started to see the face of war. Was that like a massive culture shock? To see how even the local people react to war in their backyard? And that was super weird, or?
Yeah, I think it was the culture shock was just trying to accept their culture, which is not, it's very, very, very hard, because their culture is fucked. Like, they have a lot of weird shit. And not like, let me put it this way. So the Afghans will have little, right? And they use them like they're women. So and we know about that shit, but we can't do anything because it's their culture. Even though we want to blow their fucking heads off, like, that's because we know it's wrong, but in their culture it's normal. So just trying to deal with that was really difficult. It's fucked up.
You
dude.
can't fix
like
that. How do you fix that? A culture? How
you can't. You can't fix it, and your hands are tied, because what you want to do will put you in jail.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't matter if I shoot this fucking guy in the face for a kid, and I go to jail. The guy next to him is going to be another kid.
The culture.
It's not going to matter. Like, we were on a checkpoint, and they were basically, it was a VCP, right? Vehicle checkpoint.
Yeah.
And we had two guys on the checkpoint with some Afghans, and one of our corpsmen were out there. And this truck was coming, and it wasn't stopping. And they did all the TTPs, like the escalation of force stuff. You shoot, it was like, I can't remember exactly what it was because it was many years ago, but it was like shoot, warning shot, then shoot a flare, do something like that. And then the last resort is
something like that, or shout, shoot.
Yeah,
shot,
something like
Fed's been getting
something like that. Yes, and it varies depending on where you're at, so it's always going to be a little different. But so the truck didn't stop, wasn't stopping. The corpsman pulled up, put one round through the windshield, and the vehicle stopped. Put it right through the middle of the windshield. So when you got up there, there was two men, one in the driver's seat, one in the passenger seat. I don't remember what their excuse was. Probably some bullshit. And in the middle was a kid with them that got shot in the face by the corpsman and killed him. So it was like, we couldn't even feel bad, because it's like, probably just put that kid out of his misery, because he was literally just there.
Yep.
As these truck drivers drive around the country, like, well, that's it. That's the only thing he was being used for.
Yeah,
so
it's fucked up. So kind of,
it's super fucked up.
But it is fucked up in a way.
It is like, that's kind of the way you justify killing a kid. Like, it's probably better, even though it's still not great. It's not good. Nobody wants to do that shit.
And I need to take a piss as well, so I'll be back.
Yeah, we can take a piss too.
How you going, guys? Why don't you take this moment in the break to hit subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment for us. Let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, so we can grow this channel to something really good. I'm loving this new project. I really want to get the community involved, so let me know how it's going down in the comments so we can just push it further. All right, guys, back to the pod.
Yeah, it was rough. That was probably the hardest part of anything over there the second time.
How long was the second deployment?
It was a year.
12 months.
Yeah, 12 months. I got a 2-week R&R in the middle. So I think it was right around Christmas. I got to go home for 2 weeks, and so that was normally that's not normal in the Marine Corps for a year deployment. Usually it's 7 months. You're out and then you go home, but because this was such a specialty mission, that's just what we did. So yeah, it was a year. Then that's basically it. I mean, there's lots of shit that we did there and saw, but it wasn't real kinetic other than IDF and a few little tiny exchanges of gunfire, shooting back and forth. But for me, that was about it for that one.
So you come home off second deployment, and are you oversatisfied at this point yet, or are you still?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't say oversatisfied, but I feel like I spent I missed basically the whole Iraq war because of recruiting and the 3 years in the training unit. So I was expecting to go to Iraq. I didn't think I was going to go back to Afghanistan again. But Iraq was kind of winding down at that time when I got back. So when I got back, I went back to my regular unit and just started the basic, rear Marine Corps stuff. A lot of field ops, a lot of training, a lot of going back and forth to the desert where we were at for training. Lots of that kind of stuff. And then we got assigned my third deployment, which was the entire battalion. So it was the whole battalion. It was 3 batteries. All of us, we all were going to Helmand Province, Afghanistan, for my third and final deployment. That one was way more kinetic. We got into a lot of shit there, but basically, we get back. I'm back home for maybe I don't know, a couple months, and then we get this mission that we're going to do. So we did a workup for that, 6-month workup, getting ready to go. And during that time, we knew who was over there, who we were going to replace, and we knew that each battery was in a different spot. And depending on where you went, depending on how wild it was going to be, and our battery got picked to go to the roughest part where it was a lot of shit. Quite a few Marines getting killed. So we were prepping to go over there and lose guys, basically. Every unit that's been over there has lost Marines, and we were in an area that the British had for years, and they had it rough. And there's quite a few documentaries about that, and I think there was a movie called Kajaki that the British did. But that's where we got assigned to go, was there. So our battery went to Kajaki, Afghanistan, to basically secure a hydroelectric dam that was being run by the South Africans. And we were there to provide security and do patrols, and basically we had this is the first time as a artillery marine that I deployed with cannons, with howitzers. Never had a howitzer on any other deployment until this one, and we had 3 of them. So we had 2 platoons, and we rotated in and out of the guns, and we rotated. So one platoon would be out at the patrol base, and they'd be doing patrols, or they'd be at the OP, which was the Wild West, because it was on the other side. It was the furthest north unit in Helmand province, so we were the furthest north in the province. There was nobody. Everything north of us was all bad guys, so we didn't go into those areas very often because it's pretty big valley. So yeah, so we get there. We knew that the battery that was there before us had lost a couple guys, and we get there. We have 2 platoons. I'm the platoon sergeant for 2nd platoon, and then we had another guy who was platoon sergeant for 1st platoon, and we rotate. Either we were manning the cannons, or we were on patrols, or we were sitting on the OPs, providing security or guarding the base or whatever. But that's how that started. That was in 2000. So my 2nd deployment was 2009 into 10. My 3rd was 2011 into 12. So basically for 4 years I was deployed in some way, or some way I was not there. I was in Afghanistan. But so it started off normal as it could be, just trying to get into the swing of things. There was a few times, like my platoon commander, who was a lieutenant, one of the best guys I've ever worked with. I still talk to him quite often. Yeah, I actually got to go to his wedding a few years ago in New York City, so it was like I was one of the only guys from that unit that got an invitation, so it was pretty cool. But so getting in there the 3rd time, you're trying to learn the rules of engagement. You have different things you have to follow. If you see a person, this is just examples. If you see a guy walking around with an AK, it's not like the video game where you see a guy walking around with a gun, you just fucking blast him. They were allowed to have weapons. The civilians were allowed to have weapons because they had they were able to defend themselves, whether it be against people or fucking animals, because there was jackals, which are some crazy looking dogs that they were like coyotes, so they just roamed around and they would fucking attack people and shit. So you couldn't shoot a guy that you saw walking around with an AK, even though you wanted to. So one of my first experiences being out there was, like I was saying, my lieutenant wanted me to be at the spot that had the most, basically was the most kinetic, because I had experience and I could call it in to the talk, or the combat out the center, where all the damn people were sitting there on computers and shit and talking to the headquarters and the air units and whatever. So I'd be able to call all that in and give them my idea what I'm seeing. So first 2 weeks I'm sitting out on this OP with a squad of Marines, and then a squad plus of Afghan army dudes that were out there with us. And we had this huge camera. It's called a Gboss, which is basically a huge tower with a camera on top of it that was basically the same kind of camera that was on the bottom of an airplane. So you had thermal, you had zoom, you had all kinds of crazy shit, so you can really see details, and you could see way out, way fucking out there. Like, you got a lot of zoom. So I got to know this thing inside and out, and I got to know everywhere. There was a lot of abandoned buildings and little towns and structures all around this OP that we were on. So I learned where people lived, where they didn't live. Everything was labeled on a map with a number, just like you see in the game that we do, where it's like you get a map and you number buildings. So our map actually had that for the whole area. So I knew exactly, like, say, in this area, number 15, nobody lives there. Never seen anybody come in and out of there, that kind of shit. But anyways, so 2 weeks in, I see these guys. It's nighttime. I got them on the thermals on the camera, and they have weapons, but they're not doing anything. They're just kind of fucking chilling, walking around, and they kind of go behind this little wall, and I see them. There's kind of a guy that looks like he's guarding or watching, and I'm like they're putting an IED in the ground. I can tell they're doing it, and I'm calling this in, and I'm like, can we shoot him? Can we shoot him? Like, and I keep getting told no. They're allowed to have weapons. You can't shoot them. So I'm keep reporting that I'm seeing them dig an IED in, and so they come back and they say, hey, we've got a French pilot on scene, and he's going to drop a bomb on him. So we're like, fuck yeah, drop a bomb on these bitches. We're all excited and shit, so we're watching. I got half the guys in this little shack with me that has the camera, the monitors in it. and we're like, yeah, let's fucking drop a bomb on these bitches. So that we get the comm in from the pilot, and he's talking in like he sees them, and he goes to release the bomb, and the fucking bomb didn't release. It was stuck on the plane. We're like, no, fuck. So he came back around to do another pass and tried it again, but the bomb was like, something was wrong with the release for the bomb on the airplane.
Stuck on the rail.
Yeah, it's stuck
shake it
on
off or something.
Yeah, right. Just shake the wings, shake the wings. But yeah. So we couldn't bomb them. Like it didn't work. By that time, they had moved on. They all separated, and we followed one guy into a building in the town that was just south of us, and he goes inside the house and disappears. Right. So the really bad thing, like, we can laugh about that, but the really fucked up thing, this haunted me, and it still haunts me to this day. A week later, the first platoon had the OP, and they were going out to patrol, and they patrolled up that way, and my fellow platoon sergeant, who me and him shared a room back at the little fob, stepped on the IED that they put in, and it killed him. Blew both his legs off and one of his arms. He was a triple amp. I listened to the whole thing go down from a patrol base south in the valley, and for so long, and it still fucks me up. If I would have just shot at those guys, he might still be alive, like, today. If I would have just said fuck it and shot at those guys that I knew were putting an IED in, that we had a fuck up with the French dropping a bomb, he would be here. I think he would be here now. I don't know, but I feel guilty for that a lot. Like, I feel very guilty for that, for just not doing it. But so that was our first casualty. Happened to be the other staff sergeant that me and him were like brothers. Yeah, every year we some guys will go up to Arlington and go visit him at his gravesite. And I'm friends with his sister on Facebook, and everybody keeps in contact. Like, there's no blame. that just fucked me up. Like, I had to like go talk to people about that shit, like professionals, because it felt like it was my fault because I saw the dudes and I didn't shoot them, and now he went and stepped on that fucking same IED. But you know, who knows? It's hard to say. I mean, it's been so many years now that it's it was like November time frame, 2010, 2011.
Do you wanna tell us his name?
Yeah, his name was Vincent Bell. Vincent J. Bell. I actually have a tattoo with his initials on my arm. It just says "Never Forget," and it's got his initials and another guy that died out there's initials, and I can go into that too. That was really fucked up. Like it not as fucked up as that, because this wasn't like guilty in my, like, I didn't feel guilty for it, but it was a really fucked up way to die. So the other guy's name is Connor Lowry, and he was with the other platoon also, and he had just come up to, so we were on the OP, and we were fogged in for like 2 weeks. We couldn't get resupplied, we couldn't get air support. We were getting shot at by dudes that were in the fog. We could see them like through the thermals. Thermals are wild, I'm telling you. You can see through that shit. So it had started to clear up, and we finally got a resupply. And he came out on a Humvee with like a small convoy with like 2 or 3 Humvees. He was in the gunner's turret, and me and him were talking like, "Oh man, how you doing, Larry?" Like, thanks, you know. They were bringing us food because we were running low on food and water, and so on their way back, they were going to go check another position that had just Afghan army on it, and it was on top of this hill. So, like I said, he's in the turret, and he was turned like facing to the left. So the driver's going up the hill, he's facing left of the vehicle with his gun facing left, like as security. And the driver's driving up the hill, and as he crests the hill, he hits a power line that's low hanging, and the power line hits Connor in the neck and electrocutes him in the turret, and it fucking stopped his heart, and he died right there from electrocution. What a fucking stupid way to die in Afghanistan, in a wartime. And forever, they didn't tell his, I don't think they told his parents how he died. I'm sure they know now, but I would hope they know now. But they wouldn't tell. They didn't say it, and they didn't call him as a killed in action. So he was
More of an accident.
just killed in an accident, yeah. But in my opinion, he was killed in action.
I'm sure though. Yeah, well, he's over there. That's how I see it too.
Yeah. In the camera, and I was watching, and I could see, I didn't know what was going on, but I could see that they had somebody on the ground, and they were doing chest compressions on somebody, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? So I called over, and I couldn't get any info, and I found out a little later that's what happened. No.
Damn.
But yeah, it's fucked up. Really bad. Fortunately, those were the only 2 deaths. We had some wounded. I had a guy, one of my Marines got hit with some shrapnel in his leg from a mortar. Had another guy get stepped on well, he didn't even step on it. The guy in front of him stepped on the IED, and it went off, but the guy behind him was too close, and he caught a concussion, so he ended up getting flown out, medevaced out.
And then there was, don't they, when they get medevaced out of country? Is it Germany?
Well, neither one of those guys left country. They just went to the main Camp Leatherneck, where the main doctors and hospital was at, and they just went and recovered there for a little bit and then came back. The guy who took shrapnel in his leg, it was in his ankle. It wasn't horrible, so he was pretty much back on full duty within a couple weeks. Those are the only 3 Purple Hearts. No, 3, yeah, because the other one that got electrocuted didn't get one. But yeah, that was and like I said, it was very, very, very kinetic. I got into a lot of firefights, a lot of shootouts with dudes. I called in a lot of airstrikes, a lot of bombs. It was
some of the first time
completely
you really got to see the enemy.
Yeah, that was well, we saw them in my second deployment, but it wasn't nearly as, like, they weren't shooting at us every day like these guys were. It was like totally opposite. Like it's weird because as I look back at the 3, you know, it was like it was nothing, then it was kind of shitty, and then it was just bad. Like the progression was just crazy between the 3. We were expecting the 3rd one to be kind of rough. We knew it was going to be. We planned for it. Like, we trained for it to be fucked up like it was. But yeah, that was the first time I actually ever pulled the trigger on people.
And
ever shot back at dudes.
I knew you were getting kills, essentially.
Yeah, most of the time that you really knew you were getting kills was when you were dropping bombs on dudes and you saw them explode into pieces. Yeah. That's when you knew. Yeah. And you knew you called that in. Yeah, so that was a tough one. That took a little while for me to get, and I'm still not even close to, like, being normal, but
do you think it's the separation of when you're calling in airstrikes and that, you're seeing everything through a camera a lot of the time?
Camera, binos, looking at them with your, you know,
right there, sort of thing. You know, you think it's. I can't imagine what it's like, to be honest. I can't, but I can only think about the anxiety that you'd be going through, knowing what you've just called in and what's coming for those people over there.
Mm-hmm.
As well. So that would be fucking.
Yeah.
That would be tough. Not interesting, but also tough. Because 1, fuck these guys, but 2, knowing the act of what you're doing, as well. But, like, I can't imagine the anxiety that I would be going through just knowing that I'm calling in some information over the radio and I know what's coming for those people over there. You know, so.
Well, the strange thing is, like, me, I don't know how everybody else was, but I didn't feel that at the time. I didn't feel the anxiety. I felt like I was having to do this job and these guys were shooting at us, or they were putting an IED in. Because I tell you, anybody else I ever saw digging an IED in, I dropped a bomb, or I had a HIMARS rocket come in on them, or Hellfires. I've got some videos, dude. I got videos.
Maybe we can use them if you want me to. I don't mind. I don't know whether it's all shit like that's all over YouTube. I don't know if you want me to use them in your footage.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. We can look at those later, but the anxiety didn't come until after you were gone, and you're like, damn, I just those dudes are in pieces. Like we dropped a bomb on some guys we had a patrol go out, and the next night, the patrol, it was a day patrol. They patrolled out to some village to the south. Then that night, there was 3 dudes that went out there and were putting an IED in on the route that they took. And we dropped a bomb on them. And I watched it happen. and they fucking exploded into pieces, and it was a really great feeling to know that you just killed those guys because they were trying to kill you. And but the craziest part is, like, after you blow them up in the Muslim culture, like they have to bury those people within a certain amount of time. So we watched people come out there with wheelbarrows and put pieces of bodies in there and throw up on the ground. Like, we're watching them through the thermals puking as they're putting body parts in a wheelbarrow to go bury them. And then of course, after that happens, they come up to our OP, and they're all down at the bottom of the hill, and they're like, those were they were good people. Like, no, they weren't. They were fucking putting an IED in. Like, they were kids. No, they weren't. Yeah. No, they weren't. But yeah, it's pretty wild. So there was a lot of that shit going on. I actually, once we returned home, I got a medal for some stuff there. I can read you the citation if you want.
Yeah.
To hear it. Might just have to bleep out my name.
Yep.
So this was a Department of the Navy certify that the Secretary of the Navy has awarded the Navy Marine Corps Accommodation Gold Star in lieu of second award with Combat V to me. This was for, and I'll just read it to you, for heroic service while serving as platoon sergeant, 2nd Platoon, Gulf Battery, 2nd Battalion, 11th Marines, 1st Marine Division, forward, Afghanistan, from October 2011 to May 2012 in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. I was a staff sergeant, participated in 90 dismounted patrols, 123 mounted movements, 82 significant actions, and 59 enemy engagements. On 28 December 2011, Staff Sergeant fearlessly moved fearlessly moved between uncovered machine gun positions, continually exposing himself to enemy fire to direct his Marines and the Afghan National Armies to destroy the enemy fires into a relentless enemy position. Once the enemy was suppressed, Staff Sergeant calmly directed air support onto their position to destroy the enemy with a Hellfire missile. Throughout the deployment, Staff Sergeant aggressive combat tactics led to the successful employment of 3 Hellfire missiles, 2 guided bomb units, 9 rockets directly onto enemy positions. Staff Sergeant's courage under fire was instrumental in the accomplishment of the battery's mission. His intuitive perseverance and total dedication to duty reflected credit upon him and upheld the high traditions of the Marine Corps. So that was just a little piece of it, but the write-up was pretty good. I was actually surprised that they got all that.
So that was actions taken throughout the whole deployment, or was that just over one engagement, one day?
It was one day, but then they kind of broke it down into all the different kind of fires that I called in.
So when you read that, what are you like? As you read it, are you going through that day as you read it? It makes it harder to read it.
Yeah, I kind of go through the entire time trying to remember all of it. Like, it's hard to remember everything. And literally, I just found this the other day, and I was like, maybe old James David will want to hear this. But I don't like to toot my own horn at all. Like I feel it's embarrassing.
No, I
to talk about yourself.
For me, it's, and people like myself, civilians, have never and are never going to see what you've seen. You got to paint that picture.
Yeah.
And like it might be corny for you guys as a serviceman, but that, like, because you guys lived it, and you're like, that's all corny, that's bullshit, because you're not doing it for that, and I get that, but at the same time, for someone stupid retard like me, you got to paint that picture of the shit that. It's all well and good to say, oh, he went to war, but the fucking acts that some of you guys end up doing, and that you guys just shrug off your shoulder like it was that was my job.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't understand that, and again, I'm not trying to. It takes a different person to really end up, and you might say it's trained in and that, but still, people bend and break at the knees in situations like that. You didn't. You stepped up to the fucking player and did your job. You know what I mean? And that's I'm guessing, by my experience, that's all your fucking superiors want you to do, and they expect you to be able to do it at the best of your ability whenever you can. You know, so painting the picture, and if it feels corny, it feels corny. But I don't think it is, man. I think it just shows that, one, also as well, it's also important to be proud of what you've done, regardless of your actions, whether it's a mistake as well, because mistakes change and help people along their way as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I agree. Like, I don't think it's corny or anything like that. It's like when I'm reading that, I'm thinking like this was me. However many years ago it is. My math ain't mathing right now, but 2011. You know, that's what I was now. And then I look at myself now, I'm just like, I was a badass, or I felt like a badass back then.
Yep. Yeah.
Not so much now, but it was nice to when I got the award, the colonel gave it to me, and he was like, when I read your thing, it's like I couldn't believe how much shit you got into. And it was like, he said that to me privately as he was giving me the award.
Yeah.
And I was proud, I was honored, as somebody saw that and wrote it down and got me an award. So can't complain about that. But yeah, that deployment fucked me up for many years.
And that was all. Most of that stuff happened on the third deployment, you said, or was that all?
Yeah, all that was the third deployment.
Yeah. And then so getting out, getting back into normal life, spending more time with the kids, your family, and that, and stepping away from the military. Was that just like because it was 17 years? I think it's time to move on, or were you kind of like, I'm done with this, it's time to go?
No. So what happened was, the president at the time decided that they were going to downsize the military, and they were offering retirements for anybody with 15 to 20 years of service. And I didn't really want to go back to Afghanistan again, so I put my papers in to do the early retirement, and the first time I put it in, I got denied because I had literally just moved to a new duty station. So I had to wait a year, and I did it again and got approved. So yeah, it was part of the downsizing of the military from one of our former presidents.
Kind of just like the thing that led you to go, yeah, no, I'll take the door now and get out, sort of thing.
Yep, pretty much. It just kicked it in and was like, hey, so I could still get the benefits of retirement. I'll have a little bit reduced pension each month, but I'll get all the medical, I'll get all the other benefits of it, and I can do it early. So it sounded like a good deal to me. So I once I applied the second time, I got approved, and probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 months after that, I was retired.
And when you took the retirement, did you take it as in like, I'm going home, I'm not working anymore, or did you like, I'm going to go into civilian work?
No, so I wish that was the case, but a retirement isn't that the money that you get is not enough to live off of. So I knew I was going to have to find another job and start basically another career as a civilian.
Hard adjustment,
And,
or did you sort of slip straight in?
Well, my adjustments, it was actually pretty easy compared to some other stories I've heard from other people.
Yeah.
I had a new job lined up before I was even off of leave from the military, and I'd started working. So basically what I got into was a project management, where I had a team that I basically just was in charge of and told them what to do. And so the transition from being a platoon sergeant telling people what to do to being a civilian telling people what to do was pretty easy. The hardest part was learning how to speak normal and how to talk to people
How to make civilians do
normally, just to communicate with them, like like in the Marine Corps. In the Marine Corps,
told in the Marine Corps sort of thing,
and if they don't, you could fuck them up.
yeah,
You could, you pull them up and you're like, listen here, bitch. Like, you can't do that with a civilian. You'll get fucking shit canned.
Yeah.
So learning how to just talk to people normally without, like, I could take you in the tree line and fuck you up right now, but you can't do that, or you'll get fired. I mean, some people just can't. They can't never adjust, but
Possibly never get a job anywhere.
ever again, yeah.
So,
But I needed the work, I needed the money, and yeah. So the transition worked out
essentially.
pretty much, yeah. And now I've been there for 11 years. Same company. I've been promoted. I have a whole team of people that work for me, and I manage like $10 million projects over and over and over again.
So, somewhere in there, in that, you found Arma. Somewhere. Or FPS games in general, and meal simming and that.
Yes,
so
I can kind of go through like how the gaming thing started.
That's the end goal. Is now I want to sort of get into like what drew you to gaming, what drew you to Reforger, what do you get out of Reforger and meal simming and shit now after all what you've been through.
Yeah. So I didn't start off like I got back into game. I played games as a child and stuff. Like we had Nintendo and things like that. And over the years, I'd pick up a console every now and again and like play something. Like I'd play, I don't know, one of the Call of Duty's campaign mode or whatever. I never got into like the multiplayer shit. So I'd do something like that over the years. But then when I got out, I got an Xbox and I started playing PUBG. And I met some dudes on there, and we just would squat up and play PUBG for hours in the evening. And a couple guys were military guys, and then we had there was another guy who was a cop or sheriff or something. So that kind of got me back into playing games. And then we weren't milsimming or anything, but I didn't even know what milsim was until probably last year. But so I went from like PUBG. I started seeing videos on Twitch of Tarkov. So I bought a gaming laptop and I was trying to play Tarkov in the hotels as I was traveling, and I was so bad at it. I was like, man, fuck this game. Like I can't see nobody. I'm getting shot from people across the map. I didn't know what I was doing. And then I started playing Call of Duty with a coworker, and we were playing a lot of like multiplayer Call of Duty, and then we jump on the big maps and shit, and that was kind of fun. And then Call of Duty was just really starting to piss me off. It was so sweaty and just like I didn't like it. It was a bunch of toxic motherfuckers, and it was annoying. So I'm scrolling through Twitch and just watching some videos, and I start seeing these Arma videos. And I'm like, that looks kind of cool. So I downloaded it on my Xbox. I bought it, downloaded it, and I just started jumping into lobbies that said new player welcome, new players welcome, or new player friendly. So I started jumping into those, and I was so bad. Like I didn't get a kill for weeks. I don't think. I just kept getting wasted on that game. And I was like, how do you fucking know where you're at? Like I can't figure out where I'm at on the map and all this other shit. And so, but I kept playing it, and like it was just a regular conflict, you know, the vanilla conflict shit. I didn't do mods or anything like that. And I happened to run into our past Milsims server, the MRB one. And I jumped on there. I was thinking it was going to be a bunch of Marines and shit, like, because it was like, you know, 1st Marine Raider Battalion. And I jump in there and I'm playing on there. It was pretty fun. Starting to get the hang of the game, and then I joined their Discord because I saw it scrolling across the top. And I never did anything on Discord, so just trying to figure that out was a fucking pain in the ass. But jumped in there, met some dudes. Still really didn't know what a milsim was. And then I saw they had training, so I jumped in on some training. Did like the rifle range and shit, and then the land nav and all that crap. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like this seems This makes me feel like I'm kind of back in the military, you know, the way everybody's acting and stuff like that. And then I was like, oh, this is fucking neat. And then that's where I met Bushy. Bushy was 3 IC of one of the platoons. I can't remember now which one it was, but so he was chatting with me, and then I did the big op that we had, that really big one. I
remember I was there, pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, you were there. Yeah, I mean, all of you. There was a bunch of you guys there.
Yeah, Anzac guys there. I remember that. That was a good op. It wasn't too bad.
That was a good op, yeah. And so I was still with one of the regular platoons, and I was trying to get over to. I was actually trying to talk them into letting me be the a mortars platoon and become the leader of that. And they were like, "Yeah, your name's in there for it. If we, we're gonna try to start one up." And so I was trying to be like, the platoon commander for mortars. And Bushy was like, "Hey, I need you," because he kept asking me if I wanted to come over and go to LAR because they were about to drop the LAV into the
DLC was about to come out.
They were about to drop it in an update, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that shit, but I couldn't get released from the thing. And then Bushy came back and was like, hey, get on tonight. You're going to be one of my drivers. So I jumped on there, drove for that op, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. And I had Fed in there, and he was being fed,
Yeah,
that
I
dude
remember
never
that.
changed.
Actually, that op is on my channel, now that I think about it. It's
buried
in my channel, and there's a section where you guys pull up next to us, and we're doing something. Yeah. And Fed's
like, stay in your fucking lane.
It's so funny.
He gets shot.
Me and Jeff are laughing because whoever said something retarded to Fed, we're like, you're gonna get it, because we knew you guys by then, And Fed's just like, how about you stay in your fucking lane? Like, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, and then he got fucking butt stroked and killed. It was fucking hilarious. He was so fired up over that.
Yeah.
I gotta bring that up again. That shit was funny. I'll give him fucking nightmares. Yeah, but that was that, and we started training really hard, like as LAR, and I know you guys came a bunch of times into training, and I remember going into. I wasn't really wanting to do that fucking MARSOC shit. Like I didn't want to do that because I went into one of the trainings and it was a bunch of dudes running around talking about, if you fuck up, you're going to have to low crawl this whole runway. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. And I would just leave. Like,
Yeah,
I'm like, you guys are a bunch of fags.
Yeah, I remember those
Yeah,
guys,
like get the fuck out of here with that shit. Like, they just were, all they cared about was punishment and just fucking with people. And I was like, nah.
Making people push Humvees and trucks down the runway and shit like
that. Yeah. So I was like, nah, fuck that. I don't want to do any of that shit. So we were trying to get them just to give it to us because we were doing all the training and we were basically doing all that shit anyways.
Yeah.
On our own, but and then literally we had our little group thing going between me, Bushy, Fed, and Jace, and we were like, man, these guys are fucking falling apart. Like they're not training. They're just being like, there's nothing going on. And I said, hey, I did a thing, and I had fucking got a server, and I had a server set up, our own shit, and Bushy's like, hey, I did a thing, and then he invited us all to the Discord, and then we all fucking left.
Yeah.
And we've been with RCT5 ever since, and
strong too. So yeah.
Pretty strong. We got a really good core group of guys. Like, there's quite a few that are hit or miss. You know, that's normal, but the core group is very solid. You know, it's about 25 people, 30 people or so that are very active. And then you got the randoms that come in and here and there, but yeah, so I enjoy it gives me like a sense of purpose again, kind of like as a military person. I know it might sound strange, but it's like the unity and the camaraderie is, you don't get that out in the normal civilian world like you do with a bunch of military guys. And then all of us that are like the founders, I guess you could say, we're all Marines too. So all of us served in the Marine Corps, and so we went through a lot of the same shit. So it's nice. A nice feel.
Need to and that, and
yeah, absolutely. And
I know you got, even it happens in all of the clans that I see, and I know I call you guys clans. It's an old thing to say, but
yeah, no, you're good. I know what you mean.
All of the guys that I've noticed from every group, they all look after each other. Like, there's this brotherhood that's there that you're not going to, like you said, you don't get that outside in the real world. You might have friends that will look out for you, but it seems not the same when you spend a lot of time in a game like this, sometimes just socializing and not even playing it. You know what I mean? So having, like you said, having those people that have been through similar and same shit that you have, and they understand where you're coming from, that's massive to have in your life. Like, to be able to have that is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the banter is just great. It makes you feel good. Like somebody could be having a bad day, and you're just like, hey, you know, shut the fuck up, suck it up, you know, you pussy, and you know, they'll get to laughing
about it, and
yeah. But then you can always tell if somebody's having a rough time, and you can really like talk to them and shit. So, and it's happened a few times, you know, over the last couple months. Somebody's having a rough time or whatever, and you kind of talk to them, and we get in calls and, you know, texting, whatever. But
so
the group,
you'd be an
group's
advocate
great
for saying that video games can be healing and help people through processes.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think Call of Duty's that game, but I think something like this.
I mean, it could be for somebody. We'll say that.
It could be for somebody. I mean,
because they could find a community in there, you know, that helps.
Yeah,
them,
of course. But, for me, it wasn't. Let me put it that way. For me, it was just too much and too much bullshit. But like it's nice because you like I'm the old guy, obviously, in the group out of everybody. I'm the old man. So I get a lot of shit for that, but it's nice because I don't have to I don't have to be the old man. I can get in there and just have fun. And I talk to these guys on here and hang out with these guys on the game more than any of friends I have out in the real world. Like 100% more.
I think it's clear that I'm the same. I spend so
Yeah,
much time
I agree.
in this thing. I mean, I've been playing this franchise for 20 years, and some of my best friends I've met through, like Jeffries, I've known him for 20 years. I've watched his kids grow up through the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now we're all playing games. And I'm planning to go get a new dirt bike and ride to WA and go and see him for the first time, hopefully sometime this year. Hopefully, if I can get the bike. But like,
Yeah.
that's the sort of relationships you form within a video game, and I don't think, especially with the veteran community, I don't think it's really shown as much as what of an impact it has on helping people that have come out as a veteran and have been through some crazy shit, and they find their solace within a gaming community through a game. That game might not be Reforger, it could be World of Warcraft or something different even, but they find a community and like-minded people that they can talk to and sit down, even if it is pixelated like we're doing now, that separates them a little bit from real world, that gives them the ability to relax and talk and open up and actually do some healing even. So I think pretty much the whole reason it's the whole reason why I started the podcast as well, like to give guys like yourself an opportunity to come and talk about what they did and what they get out of gaming, and even just like their thoughts on like how the gaming community is with the community. And that would lead me to the next question would be, what's one of the things that you see other gaming communities, I mean, not that you probably haven't had a lot of time with it, because you only said you sort of only just got into it this year, but you do see a lot of other groups because of the joint ops and stuff, and you probably watch a lot of content. What do you see a lot of other groups doing that you think is, for your eyes, is just like, what are you doing sort of thing? Is there anything that sticks out to you that's like, you hate it when they do that sort of thing? And then back it up with a good thing that you like that they do, that you're seeing.
That's kind of a tough question, because, like I said, I've only really been in technically two milsim units. So what I didn't like was some of the units that I've seen or that I saw, people take it like they're like the god of something, like they're better than you because they've been doing it for a while, or they're a sergeant major, so you got to do what they say type shit. Like it's a game, first off. And just listening to the way they talk to some of the younger guys is kind of fucked up. Now, we'll talk about the one that's like the yes sir, no sir, call them by ranks and shit. That ain't. I don't like that for me, but some people love that shit. So good on them for that. Yeah. What was the second part?
What's one thing that you see in the communities that you kind of see everywhere that you like that you see these communities that are doing?
Yeah, I like the camaraderie, even amongst non-military people that come in to do these milsims. I see it every day. The banter back and forth, people laughing, having a good time when we're in the game. There's not any bitching. Everybody's just playing, having fun. And then I really like how, at least in our community, how helpful people are if there's a new person. Like they don't. There's no bullshit and talking shit to them. They jump in, they help them get set up. They'll run a kit for them and teach them how to do stuff. We got new guys coming in all the time that they've never played this game before, so they know absolutely nothing, and you got to walk them through it like they're babies. but I haven't seen any incident where somebody's not willing to help, and I really like that. I think that's an awesome thing for these communities.
I've seen your guys do that. I've seen some of your biggest, toughest guys drop their kit for a guy that's been in the server for 4 minutes, first time.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They'll be like, come over here, Bubba, I'll help you out. And they fucking help that brand new dude. And
yeah, take all my shit.
Yeah, take all my shit. Here you go, take my kit, adjust it accordingly if you want. You know, and they'll like, just straight up just kill themselves right in front of the new guy to give him their kit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And tell him what they need to do. And they do it politely.
That's exactly it.
And then 4 minutes ago, that same person was just digging into somebody else over something silly and making fun of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I love RCT5. That's why I keep coming back, because you guys are just, you don't take it too seriously, but plus you also know how to switch it on and fucking get the shit done proper, you know. So
absolutely.
That's what I like about it. Well, I reckon we could wrap it up there, Titan. Could have gone deep on many other subjects, but it'll spill out, you know.
Yeah.
But like, you can always come back. We can do a follow up on some subjects. If the pod gets busy, we can fucking do comebacks and stuff. You never know. So, but on that, I thank you for the last 4 hours and coming on, being my first guest, putting yourself out there, letting us know all that fucked up shit that you went through. It's not an easy thing to do, especially sitting in game in a fake suit with an Evron hat on. But I do appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone else will too, man.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it. I'm glad I could be your first test dummy.
Yeah, sweet.
See how it goes. Learn from this one and get better.
Sweet. All right, man. Cheers. And I'll
wrap
it up right there. Done.
All right, that's it. My first guest on the Arma Off podcast. Thanks to Titan for putting himself out there and doing it with me, because that's pretty awesome of him. This is going to be the first of many. I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to keep going. I want people to know about this, so like, subscribe, share. I'm going to get more than just veterans. We're going to get gaming veterans and all sorts of people. So if it's like something you like, enjoying, like to see, hit me up. Alright guys, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, peace.